Uh-oh, we're live again, Deuce. They let us back on the air. Do you believe that?
That's good. I'm glad. Yay. Power in
So,
the house. Power in the
w-
house.
welcome to Paving the Way, One True Sport, Volume 4. Tonight's main event will be CM Punk. But before we get there, we got to get a couple things out of the way.
I do
Number
before we
one,
even start. Your fucking
what's that?
internet sucks.
My internet sucks?
Yes.
No way.
Yep.
Nah, we're plugged in, honey. We good.
Uh-huh. You're blurry. You're going in and out and you're freezing.
I'm not freezing and I'm not blurry.
Okay. All right.
Give it a
Okay.
second. We'll check it out. It'll be fine.
I'm going to take it. So did you get a new card and put it in there yet? Same gimmick that was fucked up or no?
No. We got a brand new computer, ladies and gentlemen, thanks to Medusa's man, Digi. I always feel like I'm saying his name wrong.
Well,
But
Raven, Digi, he's been called a few things. I'm sure he wouldn't mind anything.
You're not supposed to call him motherfucker, though.
Motherfucker. God damn it, Digi, you did it.
Yeah, YouTube gets us in trouble for that when we start calling him by his Christian name. But Digi is the man. We spent 2 hours yesterday, Deuce, on the phone, and he helped me get this straight. So
good.
I'm glad that all worked out. Eddie says Andrew is good at my end. Medusa, it's your shit again. Do not yell at me, ma'am. Don't do it. Don't start.
How can it be my shit when there's nothing else happening?
I know. I don't know.
Well, yeah, am I blurry? Am I blurry, Eddie?
You are clear on my side, honey. But here's the problem: we both live out in BFE, like legitimately, where they hate the internet, they hate us. We can buy the most expensive packages from Spectrum, and we're gonna do whatever they're gonna do. So
okay.
On the agenda tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna talk a little AEW. Got some blood and guts. We got Camille's debut. We've got SummerSlam preview. Deuce is gonna talk about that. And then probably we're gonna get to this guy named Phil Brooks. Some of you call him Chick Magnet Punk. Some call him CM Punk. The cult leader himself is going to be the main event of tonight's show. Medusa's excited because she loves him, and well, I don't.
Oh, don't be messing with my guy. That's it.
She loves when I tease her about CM Punk, but I mean, we'll get into all of that. One thing we want to talk about first, though, up first, the very first Medusa action figure, from Powertown. And look here, we got PowertownWrestling.com. Mm-hmm. You have Wahoo McDaniel, Medusa, the Junkyard Dog, Jack Briscoe, Kamala, and Dory Funk Jr.
Yes.
All available in pre-order. The pre-order bundle right there, $289.99. Well worth it. The detail, the extremes that they went to get the accuracy of all of these right. Medusa, can you speak to that? Tell us how that whole process worked right fast.
So it wasn't quite fast, but it was a process. So we choose the package and who's going in each time, right? Series 1, Series 2, Series 3, and so on. And once we choose the characters or talent, and then we got to figure out, how do we do this? Is it, I know they're going to try to at least put one woman in each series, and I thought that was great. Maybe 2, hopefully in the future. I don't know. But I know that they're looking for little articles to be removed. So my little jacket that's across the little bikini is coming off, so you guys can really rip that off. And then my pants are staying on, so sorry. And I think that the title is also an extra, the Japanese People's Champion title. And so how they choose that with each buddy. So each one's got a lot of cool. So Wahoo's got the headdress, which is going to be fun. And I think this is a great collection. Series 2 is a very fun, very colorful collection. I'm really glad I'm in this one because of Wahoo. And if you haven't read my book, you'll know why. Wahoo is like one of my dearest and was friends. And if it wasn't for him, giving me that phone call from AWA, my career probably wouldn't have been what it is. So thanks to Wahoo giving me a buzz.
Awesome. Well, we certainly do look forward to being able to get them. Obviously, they're on pre-order right now.
Yes.
Colleagues of ours here on One True Sport, Magnum TA, Greg Gagne, very instrumental in that. Let's plug Greg a minute. You know Greg from the AWA. He will
Oh,
be on
and the
live.
AWA. Yes, yes. Did I tell you a little story about Greg?
Go ahead and say it, because all I was going to say is our traveling champs here on One True Sport are going to have the privilege of sitting with Greg tomorrow, and they're going to have a
You can ask him this.
conversation.
Yes. Lean over and ask Greg this. So, how was it rubbing Medusa's foot? While I'm driving, my foot is crossed the other and he's rubbing my feet.
Nice.
Yeah. See, I had him trained.
Now, I would say that could get him in trouble these days, to be quite frank.
These days, well, it was nothing more than that. He was just a friend in that and whatever, so people can blow it whatever they want to out of proportion.
You know, she's never short on words, folks.
It is what it is.
Next up, let's talk about your other action figure, not affiliated with One True Sport and or Powertown, but Mattel releasing
You have a picture of that?
Alundra Blaze. I do not.
Why not? It's up on my social media,
prepared.
thanks to Marcus.
Well, he put it on social, so
yeah, he did. He did.
I will make sure we have a picture next time around, Deuce. That's my fault.
Not your
but
fault.
yes, yeah, that's my fault. That's Southern for you. And 3 Diglets. I love you so much. We'll get there in a minute.
No, Diglett.
Yeah.
What's up,
you leave
Diglett,
it be,
Diglett?
lady. He's supporting the show, and we're going to get there in a second.
No,
but
you're ganging up on me. No.
Before my Adderall wears off, let's talk about Mattel. Let's talk about Alundra Blaze. How did this come to be? You're back in another action figure.
Yes, the Alundra Blaze figure, of course, is really cool. I think that's in a 4-pack as well, right? Why am I always with men? Why can't I just have an action figure by myself without Shawn Michaels' bed in my damn action figure? I mean, come on. My very first action figure they give me, and I'm very grateful. Don't get me wrong, but why does it have to be with Shawn Michael in his bed? The Heartbreak Hotel or whatever the hell it was. I mean, come on. Fuck. But I'm grateful. But I do need a new Alundra Blaze action figure, big one like that, right? But I am getting a smaller version. Those are called, what are those called? What are they? Slammies? I can't think of the name of them. The small ones, guys. Help me out there. I don't know.
I'm not an action
Slammy?
figure guy.
I can't remember, but they're small. These aren't the bigger ones. These are the 3/4 ones. They're very small and pudgy looking, but they're really good. They did well on them, and they've got the Alundra Blaze outfit on, and so it looks good. I'm happy. I don't know when those are coming out. I think those maybe this fall. Or no, they're not even out yet, are they? No,
Yeah.
they're not. I think they come out this fall.
But they are Mattel. Mattel is making those. Powertown is making Medusa. Remember, guys, the very first Medusa action figure. It only took 40 years to get a Medusa action figure.
Thanks to Greg and Powertown and TA. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, Magnum loves you. We got to get you all together. You know?
I know. Meg is the best. God, let me tell you a story about Meg and us at Halloween Havoc. That would be good someday. Okay.
Magnum knows who's a badass, and he knows the deal. Who else knows the deal here is our man 3 Diglets. I want CM Punk out of the picture, out of TV, out of my life. Thank you. And he just contributed $10 to our super chat, which helps this show out. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want your comments to the top, if you want your questions to the top, the best way them mentioned is the super chat, because it actually alerts me. And sometimes you guys get rolling in the comments so fast that they're scrolling, and Deuce and I can't keep up. That is 100% the truth, especially on topics like we're going to talk about today. We want your engagement. We want your interaction. We want you all to have a good time with us. 3 Diglets, thank you. I will get to your opinion in the main event of the show, because I think we agree.
Oh boy,
but Medusa disagrees, and we got to save that for the primetime hour. Up next, last thing, because we haven't worked the schedule out, guys. Full disclosure for our August shows, but Medusa will be in Las Vegas, Cauliflower Alley Club, the main event, as we talked about, Steve Borden, Sting going in. a well-distinguished, well-deserved reward and an awesome career. Deuce, you tell us about it and that sort of thing. The Cauliflower Alley Club, what are you looking forward to? Why do you think it's important this year? What stands out? All of those things.
Well, I think that, well, first of all, Cauliflower Alley Club has been around since the 60s or, and so it is a 501c3. It's a charity. And what we do is that we raise money and we give back to people in our industry that are down on their luck, medically, financially, maybe it's surgery, maybe it's a death. But we really definitely take a look. We get together on the board. We go over each case just individually, and hardly anybody is passed on anything. And so we've given about $1 million to our benevolent fund and helping out wrestlers, other wrestlers in our business. So I am so excited to be a part. I am on the board, just trying to make, new changes, fresh mind, and just kind of ramping things up a little bit and just making it more of a today type of 501c3 and banquet. And just, we got a lot of new things happening this year. I'm very excited to see happen. Las Vegas every year at the Plaza. And we have, our honorees. So, you have awards on Tuesday night, you have awards on Wednesday night. And so we have our honorees come in, and we have Sting, Kurt Angle, Allison Royal, and Buff Bagwell. So, and we have the Dudley Boys. So when they come in, they know that when coming in, we just ask them for an hour of their time to sign autographs for free. So free meaning they don't get paid. They're actually doing us a service. And then the fans come in, and we only charge them X amount of dollars for a signature. They get an 8x10 and a signature. And oh my gosh, where else can you get us? How often do you get to see Sting, right? Or Kurt Angle and so forth and so forth. So that's very exciting. And all that money goes back to the benevolent fund. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And who doesn't like Vegas? Well, there's some people that don't like Vegas, but okay. But when we go, we also go there and we like to see a few shows.
Yeah, I was just in Vegas and it was a great time. I will not fly Delta though, based on what happened after I got back from Vegas. That Atlanta airport was an absolute dumpster fire.
Did you go during the outage?
No, I came back the weekend before the outage, and it was the Monday before the outage. It happened on like a Friday. Absolute shit show in Atlanta. Not good. And for those of you playing along at home, in case you don't know, it's not just that Atlanta is a busy airport or the busiest airport in the United States of America. It is the busiest airport in the entire world. So when you have, yes. So when you have
Paris, Amsterdam.
Yeah, it's busy. No, ma'am. It is Atlanta.
No.
100%. Yes, ma'am. So anyway, busiest airport, and
you got shit on, brother.
You can't have an entire
Delta saw you coming, fucker. That's right.
Yeah, you can't have an entire airline shut down. So this is Medusa's revenge for the evening. Eddie, thank you for the contribution in the super chat. Question for Medusa. If you were able to book our friend and your co-host Andrew in one match, who would his opponent be, and what type of match would it be? Oh, I love you all.
So CM Punk and Andrew?
Well, he's asking who would it be and what type of match.
I know. What, you and somebody?
Anybody.
Yeah, you and CM Punk. Yes. It would be CM Punk and Andrew in a match. What do you call it? A strap match. Bunkyard strap match gimmick, and 3 falls, loser shaves head and beard.
All this hair, please. I'm not losing. That doesn't work for me, brother. What the match should be is me and CM Punk with Paulie dangerously on a pole. That's what the match should be. And ladies and gentlemen, that is called a callback. Moving on to Blood and Guts.
No, because I would be in CM Punk's corner with Paulie, and you would be by yourself.
Probably. Okay. Moving on to the to answer Mr. Reynolds' question. I apologize if you misunderstood the title of the video. We are discussing CM Punk. Medusa is not interviewing CM Punk. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, we do appreciate everybody that's in the chat. Darren Walker has a question, I guess, before we get started, because you named Megan Bain here. My question for Medusa is, which female wrestlers on the indies she's a fan of? For me, Megan Bain is my favorite woman on the indies. So before we get to AEW, Medusa, who's your favorite woman on the indies?
Oh my God. So, you would have to. So, all right. I can't remember. That's not fair, man. Okay.
You put her on the spot, guys.
I would say there's this little blonde I just saw that's pretty damn good in Lubbock, Texas, and I can't think of her name. She was.
Oh, you put her on social, didn't you?
I did?
Maybe you didn't. There was a wrestler you were hugging on social that you liked as well, but she had like a makeup gimmick, and I can't remember her name. I apologize.
Not Velvet, but yeah, no, it wasn't her. Okay, and there was one other independent. I can't think of her name. Just give me. If I think of it, I'll throw it at you. Golly, yeah. I'll have to look. I'll have to look. Anyway, next.
No problem. Medusa's going to have the opportunity to look, guys, because as you know, I love to set everything up, being wrestling's research guy. We're going to talk about AEW Blood and Guts. Okay. Blood and Guts, Medusa, you were familiar with, known as the War Games, when the American Dream was Super Genius and back in the day as the booker of Jim Crockett Promotions. I think most of your fans would know, obviously, You Climb the Cage, 92, War Games. We talked about it, you and Sting. But the War Games actually originated in 1987. And this is the big blow-off match, Horseman versus Dusty and his allies, which included Nikita, the Road Warriors, and Paul Ellering. They did the Great American Bash Tour, 30 dates, 30 in 30 days. 20 plus War Games, all started by Arn Anderson, who is also here on One True Sport, and the American
but didn't
Dream.
Dusty own the name? What was that battle there? I thought Dusty owned that name.
So there was first use inheritance. He was dead, and WWE has purchased it. They have the rights to War Games now. I believe Cody lets them use it. If not, didn't outright sell it to them.
Oh my God. That was a nice chunk.
AEW calls it Blood and Guts because it's the same style match, 5-on-5, submit or surrender once the fifth man is in, no holds barred. Just for fun facts, again, for your audience, the first one ends with J.J. Dillon taking the Doomsday device from Hawk and Animal and breaking his shoulder legitimately. Broke his shoulder.
On purpose.
Yeah, well, they didn't do it on purpose necessarily, but when they hit the Doomsday device, the cage roof was too low, and JJ couldn't get the full rotation.
So that wasn't on purpose then. That's good.
So he broke the shoulder, and then they put in the next match. The next match, they put in Ray Traylor under a mask. Big Bubba Rogers, Big Boss Man, whatever you want to call him. They called him War Machine. And that one ended when they took a spike and put it in the eye. My point to say any of this is these War Games were violent. They bled 1 billion gallons of blood all across the country. They sold out. Allison Faye has not missed me going off the rails yet. We're just getting into War Games. But Blood and Guts, Tony Khan's version of War Games. There is a double cage. There are 2 rings. There is a roof. So WWE does it a little differently. They've removed the roof component. And one of those reasons, Medusa, is that it seems that in every cage match we see these days, despite the fact the cage is supposed to keep people in, people get out of the cage. What do you think about people being able to just get out of the cage and kind of negate that stipulation in wrestling?
Well, it's something new. So both federations have something different. So it's nice. So you know what you're going to get with each one. So I think the one that I was involved in had of course, had the lid on it, the roof. And
Mhm.
that's where I climbed up and walked along and was able to slide the phone and whatever in it. So, I mean, you're limited somewhat, with stuff like that, but you really can be creative with a roof as well. But that gave more of a mysterious, like, how are they going to do this? How are they going to fight out of this? But I kind of like now, fast forward, I like the roof off because you saw there after a while, the women would, climb up the cage. They would sit on there. Hell, they would fall from the top. I believe Bull Nakano even gave a guillotine, a leg drop off the top of a cage once. I mean, and when you're standing on the corner, I mean, heck, even Shane. Didn't Shane come off the top of a cage at one time?
Mhm.
So, I mean, to me, that's more impressive. It just looks more impressive nowadays with the roof open. Well, you can do more, I guess.
So the production for you, the
Yeah.
sight, the
Yeah.
the like Rikishi jumping off the cage at Fully Loaded 2000 onto Val Venus. We saw Chris Benoit do the headbutt spot. Shane McMahon, to your point,
Mhm.
Mick Foley off Hell in a Cell through the table and then choke slammed through the table again or through the cage. After he climbed back up, separated shoulder and all. So you're okay with that spectacle or that
Sure.
presentation of a
Spectacle,
cage
presentation. Yes, I like it.
presentation. Okay.
Yeah, and
And the
so, I
reason I
mean,
even go
they're
ahead.
different. They're different, one extreme to another now. So it gives you both. I like it.
Yes. Very good. Sorry, I was reading CB's comment. Yeah, Sid Vicious dropped a wrestler on his head because the guy's feet hit the roof. I think it was Brian Pillman. That is correct, sir. 1991, the Four Horsemen versus Sting's team, and the match gets called off with the towel thrown in by Elegante when Pillman takes a bad power bomb from Sid, and then he actually took a second one. So that's
Mhm.
how they ended that one. Now, the endings of these matches, I think, matter, Medusa, because what Dusty said in his video, the War Games was arguably his greatest creation. Now, this is a man who created Starrcade. That was his vision, Starrcade through
Mhm.
JCP, found Magnum TA. And what I mean by that is realized that Magnum was the next big thing,
Yeah.
turned Nikita Koloff, sanctioned the Four Horsemen. These are the things that happened under Dusty Rhodes' watch as a booker, and he named War Games as his greatest accomplishment. Is that accurate, or do you have a different opinion?
Well, I think everyone has their own opinion, just like assholes, right? I think that what I like, you may not like. Kind of like CM Punk, I like him, you don't. It's kind of like having a roof, not having a roof. So I think that, yeah, I don't, I don't know. What else do you say to that? I mean, it's an opinion, right? I don't know. What are we supposed to say? I don't know.
Ma'am, this
No,
is your show. You can
I
say
know.
whatever you want.
I know, but there's a lot I want to say, but sometimes I bite my tongue. Like I just want to go.
Yeah. So moving it
Um,
forward, fans love the War Games. They bring the War Games back in NXT.
mm,
They bring the War Games back. Now we will see my prediction: the Bloodline Civil War and a War Games in Survivor Series. I think you're going to see that this year.
well, he was. Oh, hello. It's Digi.
Yeah, he called me too, but I
Yeah.
I mean we're on the air.
Yeah, but he doesn't know we're on the air, but whatever. So again, okay. So what I want to really say to that then is just that Dusty was known and good for everything. You know what I mean? And I think he truly, truly felt that because that was his, creation from sand. You know what I mean? Like making glass, a beautiful piece of base glass out of sand. And the war games were so different compared to his, a lot of his other bookings with people and character building. But I mean, it's very nostalgic. It's a lot of history. And I would have loved to have been in a woman's war game. Hell yeah. I felt like it half the time when I was over in Japan, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe, you know, some people say it's their favorite too. War Games was fantastic. I would like to see more of a War Games today with different uh countries, different, you know, just different situations going on. Remember how we had the Sheik during those times when things were really good or bad or indifferent? I just think that, God, the heat. If we could get some characters rolling into War Games, I think you might see something very, very cool.
Yeah, Sheiky Baby with the Iranian clubs
Yes.
during the time when right after Ronald Reagan, the American cowboy gets the hostages freed after 444 days. So he was very timely, and he was actually Shah Reza's one of his bodyguards. For those of you that didn't know that,
Wait,
talking
what?
about the Sheik. The Sheik
Oh,
was one of Shah Reza Sheik, the Iron Sheik, Sheiky
yeah.
Baby. Was
Yeah.
one of Shah Reza II's bodyguards before he came to the United States.
Oh my God.
So I'm just full of all sorts of useless information. Anyway.
No, that was good. See? Why can't we have we ever had like a woman Sheik?
No.
Something like that? No.
But we did get MJF declaring that the international world title is now the American title.
Wait, what? How does that happen?
Well, he just decided. So he took it from Will Ospreay.
And where did he buy it from?
Well, they just remade it.
He bought it from Jerusalem.
Yeah. So anyway, that happened the other night too. All right, hold on, Diglets. We're getting there for SummerSlam. I am off my medicine today. Listen, Team Elite, Team AEW. This is the blood and guts match. One side, and I hate to say that a match that featured Arn Anderson and Dusty Rhodes had the Young Bucks in it in 2024, but that's the way world works. So it's the Team Elite, the Young Bucks, Okada, Jack Perry, the Scapegoat, and Hangman Adam Page, taking on the Acclaimed, my boys. I have all their shirts. The Acclaimed.
Do you have my shirt? No.
I do have your shirt. It's on the way. The one that says, "Nice to meet you. Don't fuck with me," or "Don't piss me off," or whatever it is.
Yes. Okay.
Because I'll wear that in public. And y'all know I will.
Just wear it backwards.
Yeah. The Acclaimed, Darby Allin, Swerve Strickland, and Briscoe. Not Jay, the other Briscoe. Excuse me.
Jerry, what?
I always forget his name. Mark Briscoe. Thank you, Mark Briscoe. So that's your teams, Medusa, and they kind of throw this together. And the Elite do a bunch of spots. Like they've got stories inside of this. I think works. Hangman Swerve. They've had a very, very bloody rivalry, that sort of thing. Swerve Strickland, of course, the world champion. Adam Page, controversial in that he lost the title to CM Punk at AEW, which we'll get to in a little bit. See, all of this is tied together. It's very incestuous. Like somebody knew what they were doing when they put this together.
Gee, I wonder who that was.
Yeah, it was not this guy, clearly. But so Adam Page and Swerve have their issue. Swerve goes to get out. Adam Page jumps him, handcuffs him to the outside of the cage. So then we have to have bolt cutters and we have to cut the fence open. That's why I asked you.
That's exciting.
About escaping the cage. So you like that?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah. I was going to say, I'm looking at the notes. Yes.
No problem.
I like that. I like it.
So you like that part. Okay.
Yep.
That's cool. But the idea is Hangman and Swerve have this issue that they still haven't.
Where were the bolt cutters? Where were the bolt cutters?
Nana brought the bolt cutters out. That's Swerve's manager. He brought the bolt cutters.
And he had them with him the whole time?
No, he had to go to the back and get them. So at least they had that part of the story too.
See, that should have been like Money in the Bank, having the bolt cutters there, and somebody could have tried to get it, and then whoever got it, whatever, could, you know what I'm saying? Maybe work with the bolt cutters.
No, I get it. Yeah, you're 100%. So, and then Jeff Jarrett and Billy Gunn come out to the rescue. And I want to ask you about these guys. Hold on just a second. But they come out and they unlock the handcuffs, and then we get the slide. They've already locked the door. So then Nana, that's the manager who dances his ass off all the time to Swerve's music, he cuts the fence, and Swerve's able to get in the ring, and then he goes and whoops everybody's ass because that's what he's supposed to do. So a couple things on this before we move on with Page and Swerve. Jeff Jarrett is 57 or 8 years old. Famously had Ric Flair's last match. Whatever. And Billy Gunn is 60 and looks as good for a 60-year-old man that can be an AARP member as anybody on the planet. But AEW, one of the criticisms of AEW, and this is a criticism that I will launch and I will defend, is I call it mismanaging their resources. You have 200 wrestlers on the roster. You are leaning on Jeff Jarrett and Billy Gunn. So Medusa, as a veteran, as somebody who's got a lot of experience, because y'all have about 40 years in the business, let's be honest. How do you feel about leaning on veterans rather than using, I don't know, one of your other 198 people on the roster?
That's a great question. So, and I think it's fair. As much as I would love to be used still in this business in some capacity, if it's manager or going in there and still swift kicking somebody, I mean, it is for our younger talent. But it's up to the management and the creative team to have good stories, to create a good story. And I feel that if we bring back talent, older talent, veterans, I think it's good. I think it's a good way to catapult something if they need. I mean, look at Paul Heyman. He's been around forever and he's still doing his job very well as a manager. So Jeff Jarrett he has, just a tongue of gold and he can just cut off a promo like nobody else. And I mean, those two there alone have so much talent in just their pinky, they probably could out wrestle a lot of the other kids there. But it's not by the kids' fault. The kids need time. They need space on there. They need storylines. But I think if we could use one of the vets, use them both, use them all, whoever you have, use them in some type of storyline to start building it. And then slowly they move out. And that's how you build talent. Maybe you take these vets back and then build another creation with another team while these guys are building in some different format, or maybe you have different vets come in and do that. You've had, like Natalia, she's been there for a long time. And basically we have seen her help talent go back to NXT, have great matches, build what they're building and, make the program a success. And Natty's fantastic. She's, a good person, a great wrestler, and she loves what she does. And she loves giving back and helping the kids. So that's how I see any veteran. There's always a place for a veteran, because if you don't have the wisdom and the knowledge and the will from the vet to want to help, you don't have the full ingredient to make the pie.
I think that's a fair assessment. You got some support here in the chat. Happy Fox Rock says you'd be an excellent manager. The problem is they rarely use managers anymore. Thank you for joining us again, Happy Fox. Good to see you. And CB says the reason is Billy Gunn and Jeff Jarrett won't fuck around and go into business for themselves. Do you think that's a concern with today's wrestling generation, is that they're more concerned about themselves than the overall booking and product?
Are you talking about the young talent?
Just young talent in general, no one specific.
Okay, so from my experience and what I'm seeing is that being around independents versus the federations, right? So when you're an independent and I go to an independent show or I'm on there to sign or whatever, 90% of the talent will definitely come up and say hello, or they'll shake your hand. They'll ask me to watch their match, or if they don't ask, they come up and say, did you see my match? Can I get some feedback, please? The independents are pretty cool. The kids know that, they're still learning, they're out there. And when they see a vet, they'll ask questions. However, a lot of them, though, too, I'm noticing is they don't know old talent. It's like there's no searching history. And that kind of is, it's almost like, wow, we're just jumping in this. I don't know anything. And who is that person over there? That type of thing. Not that myself or any other vet needs the it's just it's just that it's just very surprising that they don't know kind of what's going on around them. Number two, so from independence to, the federations, also I see a huge gap that I've been around, and a lot of these newer talent don't know anything about. Like when I'm around a lot of the other women talent, they don't know who I am. They don't know kind of a lot of the past history. Now, a lot of them may have heard from the Attitude Era forward. They know Trish and Lita, and that's it. And that's it. And anything before that, it's almost just blank. I had an experience here just a while ago, and I'm familiar with this young talent. And she came walking by, and I said, "Hello, how are you?" And I just got a stare, and she just went, "Hey," and just kept walking. And I was like, "Holy shit!" And we were in an area where we would know and should know or whatever. But so to answer that, yeah, it's actually chilling.
Mhm. Yeah, I would find it hard to believe that people don't know you, but then again, I
Not
mean,
just me. I mean, it's
no,
just
no,
like,
but if
I
you're
think
saying Trish and Lita,
anybody from well, it's not Trish or Lita's fault either. It's
no, I'm saying
because
they
of
were the
what's been
cutoff.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's about how it was pushed from that era
yeah.
forward.
But yeah,
You know what
great
I mean?
wrestlers. Yeah, great women. We've talked about Bull. We're going to talk about Sherry. We're going to talk about Bull again.
Mm.
Those women are legit. So anyway, that sucks, but very good perspective, and I appreciate you sharing that because Medusa, let's be honest. You guys
Mm.
are stars. You're on television. You have books. You have action figures, and we joke about it that it took 40 years to get a damn Medusa action figure.
And
But
now
there's
the
not a
kids are getting them just like this within, 2 years or a year, and you're just like, "Wow,
yeah,
that's
and you got
so
to have a
it's
little
cool."
ego. Let's be
It's
honest. There's got to be a little ego when you're like, oh, you don't know who I am? That sucks. But I mean, and I'm not asking you to share any more than that. I'm just saying I appreciate you sharing what you did because quite frankly, there could
No,
be,
that
oh
was
yeah,
just an example. That was an
everybody
example
knows.
from the
Yeah,
era gap. And on their defense though too, there wasn't that much TV from the
yeah.
Attitude Era back, with women on it a lot. So a lot of that is just null and void. So
Well,
but it's
well, and the joke, some of the old timers, as they say in the business, we'll call it, is there was then we advertised the midgets and the women, and that like, but it's not really a joke because that's what it was, and all I mean by that is it was an afterthought. Midget wrestling, little person wrestling, if that's the politically correct term these days. Sorry, guys, if I offended anybody.
oh my
And female
God.
wrestling. You
No
understand
one
what I'm
know
saying, though?
everyone knows you're not here to fucking hurt somebody. So if you say it wrong and their feelings hurt, it's not fucking deliberate. Get over it. We're not here to hurt
And that's
you.
why she's the best in the
If you're
business.
here,
Which
if your
includes my
feelings
mother.
are hurt, you're in the wrong place. Okay.
We're the wrong ones.
Yeah. We are definitely the wrong
We
people
are
to listen
definitely
to.
the wrong ones. But the blood and guts match, the Hangman and Swerve interaction is interesting because Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson, whatever you want to call him, is already the number one contender. He is going to take Strickland on at All In. Sorry, let me get that right, guys. At All In, which I don't think they ever should have gone back to. I think that should have been a one-time standalone, but that's a topic for another day. So he's the number one contender, but they're kind of wedging Hangman into this story somehow. And that's okay too. But the way they got them out of the match is they do a big bump outside the ring because, to our point, the cage is cut open. They can get
Mm-hmm.
out. So they do a big bump. And I apologize. The Bulldog just hit the bedroom door. I don't know why he's knocking. It's not time. But anyway, they do a big bump, but the camera missed it because it was picture in picture. So they're at a
Oh.
commercial and they missed the bump. Medusa, talk to us about production missing the big spots in wrestling matches.
Well, just like having the better toilet paper, you don't want too thin and have your fingers do the wiping. And that's basically sounds like what happened here. So I I hate that. I've been on that side of that, and it's it is production. So trust me, they get their ass chewed. Some of them get fired, and nowadays that should not be missed at all. So what happened there? There was a meeting, and then there's a production meeting, And then what I like to do in a production meeting is that if there's some certain finishes that, like if I'm a producer and I know this match has got bada bing, bada boom, Andrew's gonna climb up the corner and I'm gonna, nut shot him. He still doesn't get down. He goes up to the corner and I push him off and he does a belly flop onto the concrete floor or something, right? And then CM Punk is right underneath him and then they start kissing or something. You know what I mean? So I just had to throw that in there. And so what I would say as a producer, knowing that my finish is spectacular, I would say, bada bing, hey, this finish here, I'm producing this match. Make sure this is the lead up to the finish. When you see the person doing this, you have to make sure the camera is on and following you all the way to the end, until, a couple seconds after the splash. So it's not just a one cameraman job. It is a production. So it's from the wrestlers telling the producer telling the person in charge of the camera, like sitting here watching behind. And then if that person's sitting there, to go ahead and tell the ref and then make sure that the cameramen know in production what, in certain things that's going on. So it's not just one person.
No, and you're like you said, it's a whole team. And just for clarity, everybody, the spot was on television. The problem was it was in the picture-in-picture box. They are at commercial when you have the two most significant players inside the match, or maybe
that was
not.
timed. That was timed wrong. When a commercial comes up, you can't just say, "Wait a minute, there's a spot coming up," and tell the commercial people to, hold it. That's just the way it is. That was timing, and that the match could have went too long or too short. And if they knew that they had a break, because when I'd have my sheets and breakdown, I've got my match. I got my match. Andrew and Medusa, they come walking out. We get 1 minute intro. Boom, we start the match. We got 5 minutes. We got a 2-minute recall. And, at this time, there's a 30-second commercial. And here I got a 30-second commercial. So that means my match is, about 6.5, 7 minutes long. So I know when I'm talking to like when you're in the gorilla, you have Hunter and then you have Shawn Michaels, or no, you have Hunter and Bruce and then Shawn Michaels maybe, or whatever, right? Whenever. And they're watching the monitors and they can be calling things, or they a producer could be back there and tell them, so they can say something to the ref, to say to the wrestlers, you got 1 minute, we're going home. There's a commercial, grab a hold. There's a lot of, so it's all communication. Little insight.
Yeah, a lot of our fans are communicating, or your fans anyway, communicating. They think AEW's production's the drizzling shits. They miss things. I agree that they definitely miss things. Those guys are very well compensated. To your point, Medusa, I thought I would just point out that they missed it. Bowens of the Acclaimed takes a shot from one of the Jacksons off the cage through 4 tables. Even though it looked like he lined the shot up perfect, he still bumped his head on the concrete. So there is risk to this regardless of how safe you try to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Inside these matches. Couple other points and we'll move on. So when I think of War Games, this is what comes to mind.
Mm-hmm.
There he is. There's the man right there. Bleeding. Arn's doing the bump right there. And then, of course, we got it in color because these two guys started 40 War Games over their careers together.
Man.
Well, what we got, there's your man right there. Look at him. Look at that face on Arn. Always selling. Like Dr. Tom Pritchard will tell you, eyes up, always selling to the camera. Always having.
I always know where you're going. Yeah.
Well, this is what we got in the finish. This is your finish. So Jack Perry, this is your scapegoat. So he's the scapegoat.
He looks like Jesus Christ in there.
That's the point. So he gets handcuffed to the cage in a crucifix-like position.
Mm-hmm.
He takes an unprotected chair shot to the head.
Oh.
Before I go any further, Medusa, unprotected chair shots. This is a violent match by nature. But in 2024, is there still a place for unprotected chair shots in this business?
When you say unprotected, what do you mean? Like, was he
His
was
hands were
chained up?
handcuffed to the cage, and he took it straight on from Mark Briscoe.
Front face?
Straight to the head. He was spread arms like a crucifixion.
Oh, okay. So, wow.
So when he took the shot, he was like that, but he was handcuffed.
Right.
No way to protect himself.
Well, I mean, did he know the chair shot was coming at that point, or was it a surprise? Did he not turn his head? You know,
no way it was a surprise. No way it wasn't? A surprise. No, ma'am.
He knew it was coming then.
Absolutely 100% knew it was coming. Briscoe gave him about 10 to 15 seconds to brace himself for it. And I know that wrestlers protect themselves. What I'm saying is he had no hands to help protect himself.
Right. Well, he could have turned his face to the side, to help, secure the blow instead of face on, you know what I mean, and bust a nose or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I don't know who called that without protecting yourself. But the only thing you could do is turn your head. Hopefully he turned his head. I don't agree to something like that. I mean, you're almost putting yourself out there to have major concussion and major damage. I don't know.
Well, and this is not the first time AEW has done this. Shawn Spears, when he turned on Cody Rhodes, hit Cody. Now, Cody's hands were down, waist level, and he swung for the damn fences like he's a professional baseball player. So they've been criticized for this before, even years ago.
Well, it depends on how you hit it too. So, I mean, you can go for a chair depending on where you see the camera at. Like if I'm going for my head right now, right, and the camera is up over here on this side, so I can tilt the chair, the tip of the chair, the top of the chair like this, so it looks like it's hitting me, and my face would be turned. But over here, there's a huge gap, and it's not touching the person at all. But it looks like you're banging the fuck out of them. It's just you got to know where the camera is. You got to know what angle and what you're doing. I mean, it can be done without hurting somebody, but to have it straight on and him not turn his head, I don't know. I didn't see it. Him, turn his head. So I don't know.
Yeah, Tony was asked about it at the Comic-Con, and he defended it or on the media call, and he defended it. So you do
how did he defend it? Like what?
He said that they know what they're doing to take care of their wrestlers.
Well, and what else is he going to say?
Yeah, well,
he's going to say anything. Yeah,
he's not going to say I just put my $1 million contract out there and let him get his brains beat in. Nobody says that. Subplots inside this match continue. Just as a point, because I think so highly of him and regard him as one of the best wrestlers in the world. Okada looked very lost in this match. This isn't something that would be in his wheelhouse, Medusa, talking about Okada. He's a wrestler, plays kind of strong style, lots of strikes, lots of clotheslines, lots of sequences, lots of moves. He and Kenny Omega had a 4-match series that people talk about like it's Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat, and rightfully so.
I love Kenny Omega.
And Okada, to me, was his best dance partner. So how do you as a wrestler negotiate or navigate a match that you're not comfortable or familiar with?
Well, there's been quite a few, and especially when they don't speak your language. So you just hope in God that you're both in there for the right reason and you're going to do a good job and give a good show. But I would always be on guard. I was always on guard in situations like that. And I definitely always oversold, watching, feeling, looking, pacing. And when it's an awkward opposition or, a teammate, you try to make it as simple as possible because it could go it could go bad quickly.
Well, my thought process is in a match like this where you're going to have some, I mean, it's going to be high spot city. Let's be honest. It's going to be, we haven't even gotten to the finish yet, but I've already told you we've gone through tables, we've gone through the cage, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It's got to be a little overwhelming for somebody that's used to running one-on-one technical wrestling matches.
Technical? You mean Okada?
Yeah, I mean he's a striker and he's a he's a wrestler. And what I mean by that is he uses wrestling holds and wrestling moves.
Yeah, but it's good. I think it's good once in a while to just jump out of your comfort zone and do something different because it makes you think. It makes you think. And sometimes, you know, when you're in those situations, you go back to the dressing room, you're like, what the fuck was that? You know, and then you know, to yourself and what could I have done better? Oh, I guess this or that. And it opens up other things. You know, I understand it's not your style. Okay. Well, Japanese wasn't my style when I went over there. And guess what? I had to adjust, you know, or die.
Yeah, because they would kill you, especially Aja Kong, which we are going to talk about at some point.
Maybe.
The finish of this one, and we'll move on because I know we want to talk about Camille and, of course, CM
fuck
Punk.
the finish.
The finish is different because this is the problem when you have such a spectacular dumpster fire. And I mean dumpster fire, guys, in a good way. You've already seen somebody come off the cage. You've seen another through the tables, whatever. So the way we're going to win this match, there were no stakes to begin with. So Darby Allin is, he broke out the flamethrower the last time. But he's going to threaten to light Jack Perry on fire if Matt Jackson does not submit. So they've got him chained. They've poured gasoline on him, which is Eddie Kingston's gimmick. But this was my problem with it. If they were going to use this finish, they should have got the flamethrower and had Darby do it. But that's just me being consistent. But anyway, point being, the way this match ends, Darby gets granted a TNT title match, which Jack Perry holds the title. But that was never even stipulated before the match began. And threatens to light him on fire unless they submit. Now, this is the part of the finish I want your opinion on. Jack Perry says, no, 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 no. He's not the one that submits. Matt Jackson submits to keep Darby Allin from lighting Jack Perry on fire, who, while he's in the crucifix position, defiantly spits on Darby Allin. Is that a heel move? Is that a babyface move? Why even do that?
What, spitting?
Well,
right?
Like in defiance, like I will not surrender, I won't quit. That's almost a babyface move.
Well, that or else maybe there was something going on that we didn't know. Maybe there was maybe someone pissed somebody off. When you see something awkward like that and something doesn't happen quite like it's supposed to and you question it that much, I mean, you got to, is there something off here? Is there something someone didn't do? Is it somebody that not doing their position or their job, you know, or is it someone just being cocky and not just being an asshole? Or maybe they're turning, you know what I mean? Who knows? But as far as that, to me, spitting in someone's face nowadays, I wouldn't tolerate it really. But to each their own. Is that a heel face or baby face?
That's what I was asking. He's almost like a baby face because it's defiant, because the only way he's going to lose is if Matt Jackson says, yes, we surrender, to keep him from being lit on fire. And he says
to me,
he's willing to be lit on fire. That's kind of where I was going. But anyway, Jack Perry is the de facto leader of the Elite. He obviously had his altercation with CM Punk, it's real glass, at Wembley last year. And CM Punk is subsequently fired. Jack Perry goes to Japan. He reinvents himself, for the lack of, a better way to do it. Thank you, Chris Jericho, for, making that phrase so popular. But Jack Perry goes from being Jungle Boy and Hollywood Jack to the scapegoat.
The
scapegoat. So he is willing to accept. They are playing into the fact it's his fault CM Punk is no longer in AEW. Do you like leaning into real life for creative?
Well, sometimes you pull out the best when there's real life situations. And the best real life situations on camera are the ones that you do not let them know is real. That way it builds this aura, this sort of stigma or not, or this thing that people will be like, "Oh my god, is this real? Oh my god, is this what is this? Oh, I heard this," or and then the rumors start or whatever. So sometimes there is stuff built up in people so deep that when they cut promos, it is so real, so life real like. It's hard to determine what is and what isn't. You know, I think that a lot of our stuff in the past and why the promos were so good was deep. You know, sometimes when it's like acting, you know, you have a part. Sometimes if I'm studying for a part, I know what my character is. Sometimes it takes me a month or two and I really want to know who this character is. I do my due diligence. I live, breathe, and eat this, type of character to become this character. So, um, and then with real life situations, there's a lot of trauma sometimes in someone's life, and that comes out in promos. That comes out in your wrestling or your character. Somehow, there's always a bit of you in every little thing that you do. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm Medusa, Medusa was this character that was just the almighty, world Wonder Woman type of thing. And she could take on the building. She may lose, but she's going to protect and win and keep fighting for everybody. Right. So, I mean, and I got that strength from deep within, from just growing up and all the adversities I had. So long answer, but
But a good answer and what we've come to expect from you. So this is this little interaction, Jack Perry, Darby Allin. These two have been named two of the four pillars of AEW, the young wrestlers, the young talent. The other two being MJF, probably a good one, and the more controversial these days, Sammy Guevara. Now, it wasn't really well publicized, but Sammy Guevara made his wrestling return to AEW this past week, but he did so on Ring of Honor, not AEW. What was very well publicized are his comments from 2020 about Mercedes Moné, then Sasha Banks, when he was on the Whole Effing Show interview when he asked what he thought of her, and his answer was when he met her, he wanted to rape her. The question being, Medusa, this is 4 years ago. They've reportedly buried the hatchet. Is this because Sammy hurt a couple people, including Jeff Hardy, or is this to keep him away from the new golden goose in Mercedes Moné?
You mean having him on ROH?
Yeah, having him first sent home and then on a completely different programming and taping schedule altogether.
So why was he gone so long? Is it because of the pregnancy?
Now she let me go back here. She had the baby and
Right.
he made his return, and then in a match
So it
with
was after the baby when he made
yeah,
the return and said, okay.
with Jeff Hardy, he had a match either on Dynamite or Collision, and the chat can help keep me fresh because I actually didn't look all of those details up. But Jeff Hardy had a concussion, and he finished him with his what he calls "Go to Hell," which is the F5 into a face breaker, like a shot to the face with the knee. And Jeff Hardy was already concussed. But Jeff
Was
Hardy
he
was
out cold?
yeah, he was loopy. He was loopy. He was not out cold, but he was loopy. They called the go home spot, and Guevara reportedly ignored it, and they went ahead and continued on with the match. And then he hit the finish on Hardy, who was apparently concussed. They sent him home. This is the second or third time that he has been responsible for injuring somebody. But to me, it's no coincidence that you sent him home for several months. It's not been weeks, it's been months. And you brought Mercedes in March or April at Boston in the Bosstown event. So I'm just wondering, is this Tony being very cautious, do you think, or is it just coincidence?
Nothing's a coincidence. Sometimes it just is made that way. And I think since Mercedes is his, golden child right now, as far as, just, everything that's happening and how much he's built in this and financially. Having him come in, even though there was, the past with him and her, plus all the other stuff that happened, he's probably just taking caution to see how he reacts. Sometimes you just want to see the reaction from somebody, and if it's vile and they don't like it and they're they voice it and it's loud and it's not, conducting yourself well, then you have your answer. He's in the right place. Let him run out his contract and get rid of him. It's the only way you can really test somebody that's had that many, situations.
Well, and everybody wants to focus on the negative, and I think there are people hoping that that's what I'm going to do. So we argue tonight with CM Punk, and that will not be the case. But Guevara had the very first match in AEW history at Double or Nothing 2019. He's a 3-time TNT champion. He was part of Jericho's group for actually 2 of his groups. He also is the person who had Cody Rhodes' last match in AEW. So, the man was used very, very well. That's why
at the beginning through the whole thing. Yeah. And it's unfortunate because we see people like that. We see things happening and then it's like a snowball effect and then things just start happening and it sucks. It sucks to get off that momentum and grab yourself and then try to, regroup your career. Especially nowadays with social media, because once people get a hold of it, it's like you have to hire a whole, social media team just to protect yourself, really. And it's just brutal. He's a good wrestler, absolutely. I mean, I think he is. But I think that maybe this is a good place for him to start and see how things go.
Maybe do a little bit of rehab on his in-character career, that sort of thing.
Yeah, maybe there's something he wants to rebuild. Maybe this is the time he takes, I would take it as a positive. At least I'm back, I'm getting paid. I know where my end goal is, where I want to go. I got to prove myself and I'll let me take the hits, man. That's what I got to do.
Inner Circle and Jericho Appreciation Society were the two factions I was looking for, but he was obviously very close to Chris Jericho, who was AEW's first world champion. But we did mention Mercedes Moné. It is not the goal of this show to talk about Mercedes Moné every time we talk, but she is hot, and she brought in arguably one of the more interesting free agents in the business, and that was Camille, who you may or may not have some history with her being an NWA Women's Champion, who had the benefit of learning from Thunder Rosa and Serena Deeb. So Camille is brought in as the heater, the diesel, if you will, to the Shawn Michaels back in 94 or 93. What do you think about
the China to the Triple H,
There you go. Let's do China to Triple H. What do you think about her being the bodyguard of Mercedes?
I was a little taken back, and I don't know what this is, but Camille, I know she's been in a place working really hard. She grew and worked with NWA, right? Of course, she had some independence and stuff before that, but just watching her transform in the NWA, she still has a long way to go as a wrestler. She's improved miraculously. Just watching her from her first, first time in NWA into where she was when she departed. I see her as, good competition, but her as the bodyguard, I thought it was interesting with Moné. I think that it's almost as a toy figure. And she's just like taunting the effect that she has this. And Camille doesn't talk right now. She's just very statuesque. And I think she did have a part. I think she did a kick. I think she had a one-leg kick is what I saw, and maybe a slam or something. Well, she almost fell down when she did the kick. And because I saw those boots were like platformed like that. I'm like, God, my first time in the ring, why would I sure in the hell wouldn't wear those platform boots. And almost fall like she did, I'd make sure I had grounding. That's the first thing I thought when I saw those boots. I'm like, God, bad choice of boots. Yeah, maybe they look great, but I wouldn't have worn them because I wanted to make sure I'd get my footing right so I didn't look like I was off or stumbling, which she did. And I mean, I'm happy for her because she deserves another step up. So from NWA to AEW, congratulations. I love her look. She's a beautiful woman. She's very in shape. She's got a good mindset. And she's open and willing to train. And so I would love to see her, get in an angle, as, the bodyguard or whatever, but not stifled like Joni was, China. Because Joni wasn't really a great wrestler. She was just had some good moves and that was it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the handspring elbow, the power bomb, that was China's thing. To your
Yeah.
point, Medusa, months out of the ring, and there she is.
Yeah, she looks
I mean, she's
great,
a
right?
beautiful, well
Yes,
put
but she had a
together.
mask on.
Oh yeah, that was at Comic-Con. We're getting there, and there you go.
Oh.
She's done the work, and there's Mercedes with that shit-eating grin on her face.
Mhm.
Because every chicken shit heel should. But to your point, she had a mask on because at the San Diego Comic-Con, my understanding from fellow nerds, one of the bigger ones in the country, the Comic-Con, this is where they announced that the boys will have a prequel focusing on Stormfront and Soldier Boy for those boys fans here that like the Amazon. We're not going to get another episode for 2 years, Medusa. It's tragic. Also, Robert Downey Jr. turned heel on the Marvel Universe, I heard. I'm not a Marvel guy.
Don't
But
tell me. I haven't seen it yet. Damn it.
yeah, well, he turned heel.
You
And
suck at
speaking of heels, there he is, everybody's favorite nerd. It's Tony Khan.
Oh my
Tony
God.
uses Sandy. I called him a nerd. Medusa didn't, but Tony uses the San Diego Comic-Con as his platform, and this is what I want your opinion on, to announce what we all knew was coming down the pike, and that is Britt Baker, Mercedes Moné. They have this little physical altercation or shouting match or whatever. He breaks in. He does his tough guy Tony talk. I'm not doing this anymore. You guys are going to wrestle in England in front of 40,000 people, whatever. So they're going to Wembley. He makes the announcement at Comic-Con. Comic-Con, as big as it is, isn't as big as national television. Why announce it at Comic-Con? Or does it even matter?
Again, it's a buildup. It's something. I don't know. I don't know. How far is Comic-Con to Wimbledon? When is it? How far?
Wembley's August 25th. So we got about a month.
So it's not too far. So it's a good buildup. Okay. But in the meantime, they're going to have to be on TV and say things and taunt things. Maybe Camille gets involved or something, maybe she, as Mercedes talking and she walks in front of Mercedes to protect her and and Brit's just standing there like, oh shit, what, you want a piece of me? And then maybe Camille takes one step forward and she's just kind of like, okay, back off just a minute, little chick or whatever. But I think that if they just keep building it, they're going to have to keep teasing it up until that point because that right there there wasn't really anything. It was just a lot of Tony and then these two just blah, 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 right? And, way over here, far apart. But then again, why are we back on Britt Baker? Why does she get to jump into the spot right away? Because these two, and to have a major match, I mean, is that exciting? I don't know.
If you're asking
it doesn't excite me. It doesn't excite me.
The answer is no, because you're bringing back Camille to put her in a spot after she's been out of the ring for about 6 months. Ring rust is real. Britt Baker dealing with an injury. Ring rust is real. And Mercedes Moné, not a great worker in the ring and has the most
There's
matches.
There's just not enough heat here. There's just not enough storyline. There's not enough for this big show over there.
Let me go ahead and spin reality, though. Let's say they build the story like they have with Tony Storm and Mariah May. Let's say in the next 4 weeks they get to that kilter point.
That is one of my favorite movies. All About Eve. I have that movie. I have that. Oh my God. That is like one of my favorite movies of all time.
If they can get there, let's say they get that water boiling for both Britt and Mercedes.
In 3 weeks? I don't know.
Let's say they do. Let's just say
Okay.
I'm spinning reality here. I told you my
Okay.
Adderall's wearing off. Let's
Okay.
say they do.
Okay.
Can the match deliver?
It depends on the two. You can have all of this great fancy advertisement just like politics, you know? It just but it doesn't mean shit unless the two people perform well. And knowing both of them and their wrestling ability, I don't know. I don't know. Where's Saraya?
On Rampage, maybe.
Hmm.
So they
That'd be great if she head back, over to WWE maybe.
They liked that they had her, then they didn't like that they had her. Follow what I'm saying? Looks like a little buyer's remorse over there. My man John Smith checking in here says more people would see that announcement at San Diego Comic-Con than any given Wednesday. So he is on the anti AEW attendance on Wednesdays these days. But in all honesty, Medusa, they gave away in the time we haven't talked, they gave away Will Ospreay and MJF on free television. Match went 58 minutes, got 750,000 viewers. War Games, right about the same, 740, 750 for Blood and Guts. They're not cracking 1 million viewers on AEW. Who cares? Does it matter? Doesn't matter they're not getting 1 million.
Well, of course it matters. It would matter to me. It would matter if my name was Tony Khan. And because every episode, every show, every pay-per-view needs to be very well written, very understood, and the talent needs to be on point, right? And deliver and respect. And again, these kids in the ring are only as good as the people around them. So to stick up for Mercedes and Britt and whoever else for this whole match, they're only as good as the group, right? Meaning that the scripts that they're giving or the storylines that they're given. And again, a lot of it is how you deliver it as well. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, no, I mean, all of that's very fair. Like I said, we just wanted to mention that did happen. Here's a question though that I do have. Basketball has left Turner Sports for the first time in 4 decades or something. It's going to Amazon if it doesn't get stopped in court, because apparently Turner matched Amazon's offer and basketball decided to go on to Amazon anyway.
That was all about the money, depending on what's in the contract. They could be liable. I would, at this point, instead of being sued by Turner Broadcast, they might come to a settlement. Who knows?
I got you. How important do you think wrestling becomes then if basketball goes away from Turner Broadcasting? And it doesn't matter what wrestling, but in this case, it's AEW. How important is it?
Very important. They'd want a lot out of them. It's kind of like what happened with, the whole WCW thing too. If you ever watch whatever happened or what killed WCW, you need to watch it because it explains a lot there that could happen here.
Gotcha. Yeah, Medusa was heavily featured, by the way, on what killed WCW or who killed WCW.
Not really. I wasn't like heavily featured, but I was on there
every episode for 2 minutes. That's heavily featured in their world on Vice.
Okay.
And I said it, not her.
I love Vice. Vice loves me. Okay. Yeah.
They do love Medusa on Vice. That is true. What else do we love? We talk about AEW. Let's talk some WWE. SummerSlam. Look at this card. Solo and Cody, Damian and Gunther, CM Punk and McIntyre.
Yeah, leave this up. Leave it up. Keep talking.
I'll leave it up. Yeah. Liv and let's see if I can do something. Hold on, Dace. No, that didn't make a difference. We're going to leave it up the way we got it. We're going to have Rhea and Liv and Bayley and Nia, Logan Paul and LA Knight. You called it, 6 weeks ago? You liked this idea. And Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker. We're going to go through these 7 matches very, very quickly because we are going to see them on Saturday. So I'll leave it up. Why don't you start with Braun Breaker, Sami Zayn, Intercontinental title? To me, this looks like it's Breaker's to lose. This is Rick Steiner's son, Scott Steiner's nephew, Do you have any thoughts on Scott Steiner or Braun Breaker or Sami Zayn for the IC title?
Well, so I think, well, depending on how they've been building him, Breaker, right? You can't see me anyway, so just keep us both up. Yeah, that's better.
I was going to say, I'm going to take it off, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I want to see it. So, depending on how they've been building, how have they been building him?
Okay, so I'll help you out.
Yeah.
Money in the Bank looked like it was going to be Breaker's crowning achievement.
Yeah.
And they had Zayn steal it from him. Helluva Kick, his finish. He
Yeah.
wins with the kick, with the finish, clean 3 count. And then Breaker has been attacking Sami Zayn every week, basically just terrorizing him. And when I say it looks like it's Breaker's to lose, all I mean by that is Sami's had the title since WrestleMania. He's had a really good run, but Sami Zayn is at that point in his career where the IC title probably will do far more for Braun Breaker than it will for him. That would be my point.
Exactly. Maybe we use this as an example, kind of like a Britt Baker in a Monet type of situation.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So maybe she needs to drop it, lose it completely, and no one gets the belt. Maybe there's some type of thing you can do, something like that. Or I don't know. She gets disqualified, belt's taken away, and then it's given to someone else. Maybe Camille wins it. Okay, back here. Anyway, so okay, so yeah, if maybe Sammy's ready to move forward. You know what I mean? Maybe he's ready to up the level again, because Sammy, he's kind of reminding me of a situation like Natty. You know what I'm saying here?
Yep.
And so he needs to move up in the scale.
Well, and as we all know, fingers up in the air. You can't see it. Let's do that one. The tribal chief will be returning on Sunday or Saturday. That is my prediction. So maybe they need him for the bloodline angle. Who knows? Because he's already been doing a little something with Jey Uso on the Raw. So anyway, I think Breaker wins this one. I think he needs to win this one. One thing I would like to point out, Medusa, is despite Vince and Bruce's best efforts to ruin NXT, Braun Breaker is a product of NXT and did very, very well before it was taken back over by Shawn Michaels. So, Braun Breaker is a fantastic prospect. He's big, he's fast, he's strong. A lot of Kurt Angle comes out in this guy.
A little bit of aura,
he is a natural athlete, and there is a believability factor when he hits the suplex, when he hits the spear. The son of a bitch does the Frankensteiner better than his uncle did, and his uncle invented the move. From somebody who's 250 pounds. Because it's a Hurricane Rana. I get it, guys. Don't at me. But
what? They changed the name on it?
Well, no. When Scott Steiner does it, it's the Frankensteiner. When a luchador does it, it's the Hurricane Rana. But at the end of the day, a 250-pound man doing that move is impressive, no matter who does it. But I think Breaker finally wins that IC title. And the good news is they've presented him as a worker. The IC title, when you were in WWF, it was the worker belt. It was the belt for the person that actually was the better wrestler most of the time than whoever the champ was.
Well, the heel would carry the match, basically. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
and in this case, I don't think you'll see that, Hunt. And the reason I say that is Breaker's so young. I think you're going to see Sammy's they're gonna have some predetermined spots and all, and Sammy will probably lead this match, but.
He's going to leave. I see him just leaving. That's what I mean. It's just cut and dry. I just see him going on. Period.
Yeah, he's got a hell of a pedigree though too. Ring of Honor, NXT, WWE. So Sami Zayn's a guy you want to work with, is what I'm getting at. If you're a young talent like Braun Breaker.
Yeah. Where is he from? What's his background?
Sami Zayn?
What country is he from?
Well, he's Syrian, but he's from Canada. So he's a Syrian Christian from Canada. And so that was why it was such a big deal for him to go over to Saudi.
Yeah.
I believe he's a Syrian Christian. Somebody correct me if that's wrong, but I'm almost certain he's a Syrian Christian, which is why it was such a big deal for him.
Yeah, because I didn't think he could go over. Oh, I didn't know what the exact gimmick was, but okay.
But now he's over there now. So moving on to the show, potential stealer, in my opinion. All these are going to be great matches, but anytime Logan Paul is on pay-per-view, PLEs, excuse me. I'm excited. Talk to us because we know you love LA Knight. LA Knight, as you pointed out a couple weeks ago, and Logan Paul. What do you see in this match? What's going to happen? What do you think?
Well, again, a lot of bumping gums, a lot of great promo stuff. Maybe you know what I'm saying. A lot of looking one over. Cockiness. A lot of peacock walking and talking. And I mean, LA Knight, just what a great seller. He's a good seller, good bump taker. And it just and Logan, I mean, just a natural athlete. So I don't expect anything out of anybody, but I expect this to be a good match.
Yeah.
I do.
I have no doubt. And
Yeah.
Logan Paul has the benefit of, no matter what people think of him, Shawn Michaels is one of the best in-ring workers the game's ever seen, and Logan Paul gets one-on-one sessions with Shawn Michaels. That's well documented. So he gets training from somebody who people think had probably the best in-ring career in the history of wrestling. And the other guy's name is Ric Flair. So, I mean, if he wasn't, he's number 2. That's pretty good company to be in.
Yeah.
Next
Absolutely.
up, they made it personal. Nia Jax and Bayley. Bayley recalling where Nia legitimately hurt her. Nia is the queen of the ring. She won that in Saudi, which we talked about. Big deal. Bayley, of course, is your favorite of the women that you saw in NXT initially. Been with the company a long time, carrying that world title. How do you see, or what do you want to see out of these two women on Saturday?
I want a real fight and no games. I don't want silliness out of Nia. I want her to be the beast that she is and mean business. I don't want a lot of what you say. I don't want you to do that. I don't want talking. I want think of like I was gonna say like a monster ripper, but maybe a Aja Kong or a Bull Nakano type, and just that's what I want to see out of her. Less jaw jacking. And just Bayley can be a hell of a wrestler when she is put into that situation. And I want to see these two women pull something out of their ass and build a story and sell. And just where you think someone's going to win, it just like fucking blows you away. It can be done with Bayley really leading this match, probably more than anything. Absolutely. But Nia, she's got every bit of potential to just turn this around and just turn it into a monster ripper type of situation.
So, question just before we move on, is it Tiffy time on Saturday? Tiffany Stratton carries the Money in the Bank briefcase. She has got a hell of an upside, obviously a look, a blonde, a tan blonde, a very athletic tan blonde. She's got some promo, but she also had some heat online for some things she said.
What'd she say?
Do you catch
controversial? That about Nia?
Well, no, it was racial overtones about I forget who now off the top of my head.
You had Jade Cargill and Bianca, maybe.
You are probably correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah.
Anyway, the question was, do you think they pulled the trigger prematurely with Tiffany? Do you want to see them hold off with the briefcase? What do you think?
Oh, for her to come in and cash time on this match?
Yeah, cash in and win the title. Steal it, sort of, for lack of a better way to say it.
Fuck no. No. Why? They basically probably will and just make it a cut finish and she gets it and it's Tiffy time and she blows up and if that happens to this match, but where's this match going? What's happening with these two? You know what I'm saying? Once this is done and whoever wins, then what's next? If there's nothing else planned in this, then that's their alternative and that's what is going to happen. Bringing Tiffy in. Yeah. And then this situation is done, done. I mean, how long has this been going on between Nia and Bayley? Not that long.
Well, they've been going on since July the 1st, where Nia officially, or no, not July the 1st, back before then, Saudi Arabia. But they're calling back to history where Nia accidentally hurt Bayley and got the
They need to start showing the clips when she hurt her.
Yeah.
Are they doing that?
They're not. I did not see that because it was a sit down interview, and Bailey just threw the dart, and Nia threw the dart, and then Bailey threw the next dart, and you could see Nia got very flustered and that sort of thing. And then there was a big old beatdown on SmackDown this past week. Nia and Tiffany teaming together. So,
Oh, well, maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Maybe, maybe if they're starting to team together, then that ought to tell you everything. Maybe she comes in and does that then. I mean, I don't know. I don't think everyone's ready for Tiffy yet, are they?
I don't know that Tiffy's ready for Tiffy yet. I think they need to give her a little more time, but that's a personal opinion.
They will. They should. Otherwise, they're going to put her in a situation where people are going to be, I mean, they're just going to ridicule it. I mean, they're going to kill everything that they've been building if they do it too soon, especially nowadays.
Next up, my favorite, Mommy, taking on Liv Morgan. The Liv Revenge Tour next stop is Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And they've been doing this little love triangle thing. I know you love this so much, Medusa, with Dominic in the middle. And of course, Dominic made Liv lose her mind, and she's burning things now, and she's Mommy's little boy, and he's such a cuck. It's hilarious. Every straight male wrestling fan is jealous of Dominic Mysterio, and I will not hear otherwise based on who his wife in real life is and these two women. But my thought is Dom is on Liv's side, and this is all a red herring.
Oh. So you think Dom will turn on
Mommy? Yeah, on Rhea Ripley. Yep. And Liv retains the title. That's how I see it going on SummerSlam. Even though before she got hurt, Rhea Ripley was on the roll of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Roll of a lifetime. But is it more important for her to be the champion or the challenger, Medusa? What do you think?
I would like to see this expand where we have a situation and he's telling Rhea one thing and maybe he's telling Liv on another. But he's coming out with me. It's okay. Just let me go to the corner with her. We got this, blah, 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 blah. And Rhea's thinking that, okay, this is good. We're together. They have their match. He does a few things questionable. He's not there when Mammy needs him. If she does, he does something and he saves Liv, where she goes to give them their finish. Liv barely moves and Rhea misses and she's down. Maybe he goes in there and just slides her on top of her type of thing. And then 1, 2, 3, I don't know. She retains the title. And then she's like, yay. She kind of doesn't know what happened. And then he's over there with Rhea. And then she slaps him or so, I don't know, something like that. And so he goes over to Liv saying, fine, I don't want you. Then maybe he just grabs Liv out of the blue and goes to like kiss her and French kiss her and gets into it. And then down comes his wife.
Yeah, I think that
his wife's got to show up in this one.
Well, I don't think you're going to see his wife because I don't know that she's actually a worker. But I think in this,
she doesn't need to be. We've had wives involved before. Ask Jake the Snake.
Yeah, that's very true. Oh, Cheryl. But Rhea verbally castrated Dominic Mysterio 2 weeks in a row. And that's going to be the impetus of why when she challenged his machismo and his Latino heat, because he's really Eddie Guerrero's son, that's why he's going to turn on her, I think.
Okay. Well, whatever the case is, but I think that it's I'm with you, build it, surprise. And I don't know. It'd be kind of cool if his wife was just sitting out there right on the side of the audience and somehow something gets involved. Maybe, one of them goes to hit, they duck, they slap his wife, and then he's got all three women going, what the fuck?
Yeah, they did that
You know?
they did that with Shawn Michaels and Jericho
Yes.
with Shawn's wife that you like so much. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
We're gonna skip CM Punk and McIntyre now for obvious reasons,
Oh, your
but we will
buddy.
go, we're gonna circle. No, we're gonna circle back. Let's jump to Gunther and Priest. For my money, SummerSlam's all about the ring general in Gunther. It's time to crown him. Priest's run here as the champ has been a little bit spotty. Your thoughts, ma'am?
Why do you think he's spotty?
Well, he got hurt legitimately in the last PLE. He got his bell rung. They mistimed the cash in and the count and all that stuff, which is part of the reason this match coming up with CM Punk and McIntyre is a little bit sloppy. But he also has had a couple of not great moves. He's had botches, for the lack of a better way to say it, and he just doesn't seem to be resonating with the bulk of the audience because he was in a quote heel position, but got a huge pop when he cashed in.
Yes, when he
And
first started,
you
and
were
like
at
everyone were
WrestleMania.
in
You were
awe.
there. Yeah, you were
Everybody
there.
were in awe, and I was in awe with it. I'm like, this kid's got something. Now let's see what happens, what we can do with it. And then maybe his timing, his psychology, maybe it's not knowing, I don't know, but boy, he's got that charisma. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He's got that something, but something isn't clicking, which is unfortunate. I don't know what that is.
Well, and this title run just hasn't hit, but he
Mm-mm.
hits. To your point, he hits with the audience, but the title run
Yeah.
itself, and now there are people like myself that think it's almost a foregone conclusion Gunther takes that title on Saturday. And the reason for that is he is the ring general. He had the longest intercontinental title run. He is a Triple H guy. He was an NXT champion for 500 some days. He and Pete Dunne beat the brakes off of each other. If anybody wants a
Mhm.
recommendation on a match this week, check them out over the UK title. But he's gotten himself in incredible shape. And he also has been delivering these promos because people think, Gunther doesn't talk, whatever. But he's been sitting in empty arenas just giving these promos about what's going to happen Saturday. It's not a chicken shit heel. It's a I'm going to beat your ass and there ain't nothing you can do about it sort of promo.
Isn't
And
Priest good on the mic?
Priest is okay on the mic. I wouldn't say he's great. Good, okay, yeah. I would say what they've done with Gunther, though, because they've had the benefit of post-production, because it's pre-recorded, has been excellent in telling the story of why he won.
Is this the so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and main event is Cody? Is that how
The
it
main
goes?
event presumably is Cody and Solo. Yes, ma'am.
And the first match is Braun and Zayn?
Well, this isn't necessarily in order. This is the
Oh,
graphic
okay.
released by WWE. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I thought this was in order. I'm like, wow. Wow,
Yeah, but
maybe Priest and
presumably we're going to
Gunther.
get presumably we're going to get Cody and Solo in the main because there should be a return in Roman Reigns.
Well, that'd be interesting. Yep.
Well,
Well, again,
well, so
with Priest, I think that it was so big and fast. You know what I'm saying with him? He got a bigger, fast explosion than
yep.
I think than Tiffany. They're milking Tiffany a little bit longer, and which I think is good. So it's kind of like this is what would happen to Tiffany if they did it. They pushed her
Yeah,
too fast.
and so I think there's the good thing is there's a lot of variables here. And Triple H has been able to use what he has in front of him to his advantage. So
Mm.
he loves the surprises. He loves to piss the crowd off. So who
I really
knows?
want these two to have a good match, though. I mean,
That's my thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I see Priest almost like a dead man. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Lame
Like
duck. Since Gunther won the King of the Ring, it's been that he's been basically the lame duck champion. And then of course, let's talk about the golden boy of WWE, Mr. Cody Rhodes, who did this past week, as I sent you the photo, receive his father's robe that he wore in Japan.
that was
Um,
amazing.
Huge deal. Huge deal.
Yeah.
And Medusa, you were the women's or the all Japan women's people's champion, excuse me, you know what an honor it is for them to bestow those sort of things on people. So for them to give Cody the robe that his father wore,
Who
it's a
had that?
huge
Some
thing.
Japanese guy over there?
It was yeah, they presented it to him at a live event.
I know, but who owned it? But who had it? Some Japanese
That I'm
guy?
not sure, but it was a couple Japanese guys in the ring that gave it to him.
Yeah, that don't mean. I wonder if it was sitting over there this whole time or something, or if it was just for show and they brought it over to give him. You know what I'm saying? Like give him extra powers because it was his dad's robe. I don't know. It'd be nice to see where that actually came from. You know?
Yeah, I'll look it up and I'll let you know. We'll get it figured out. But Solo versus Cody. I call Cody the Golden Boy. Here's why. The guy spends an hour before shows, an hour and a half after shows. He signs autographs. He takes pictures. He's signing autographs on the way to the ring. That in itself is interesting because Vince McMahon would have never allowed that to happen. You know, a wrestler stopping, signing an autograph, and continuing on to the wrestling ring. That's not something that he would have actually done. But Cody and Solo has been claiming he's the tribal chief. We saw him put Paul through the table.
Yes. Yeah.
Obviously, he's got Jacob and he's got the Gorillas of Destiny on his side. I believe Ming's other son, Haku's other son, is en route to the WWE. So we may have another surprise. The question being, does Cody Rhodes
Fatu needs to make a run in?
Fatu needs to make a run in. There you go. So who's winning, Medusa? I'm putting you on the spot. Is Cody Rhodes retaining, or are we going to get Solo the champion and the imposter of the tribal chief title?
Well, what's after SummerSlam? What pay-per-view?
Is it help me out, guys? Is it Bash in Berlin? Maybe. And then Bad Blood is in October the 5th. And I think Bash in Berlin is before that.
Well, I think Bad Blood would be great to finish this.
Okay.
I do. And I think Cody retains it because of something happening here, even if he comes back. But I see this as, you know, maybe how long has Cody had the title? God.
Since WrestleMania.
Yeah, since WrestleMania.
Yep.
Okay.
And his defensives have been against AJ Styles, good match.
Yeah.
Logan Paul, good match. AJ Styles, good match. Then they did the 6-man, you know, with him and Orton and Owens against the Bloodline in Canada.
God.
He's had a great run. I mean, you can't argue with the run being bad or anything, you know?
I mean, who else can he go through? You know what I mean?
There's a lot of people that think it's the natural opponent will be Orton. Because they were in Legacy together back in 2009 when it was serial killer Randy Orton who was kicking Orton? He's out. I mean, he's wrestling. He's not hurt or anything. He's but he's not factored into SummerSlam, which is why there is speculation he will be. My thought process is really simple. The Solo made such a big deal about Jimmy Uso losing to Jay and Roman losing the title that when he loses at SummerSlam, the tribal chief comes back to reclaim his throne. And that's when we kick off the
maybe those two. Yeah, maybe those two have a scuttle that, you know.
And then I would see Orton turning on Rhodes in a post-match celebration sort of thing.
Somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how I see
and that's a build. And that's a build-up. And that could be
that doesn't mean that's going to happen, because what you have to do to end this story, I mean, the whole thing is it's losing, and that's been Solo's thing, and even the breadcrumbs and the body language and the glances he'd shoot at Roman and all that stuff when they were teaming together.
I know, but what I'm saying is this is a buildup between Solo and Roman, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The title match doesn't actually matter. They need Solo to lose so that Roman can come back and say, well, you're not any better than me. You're not the tribal chief. I am, and they can go to work.
Because and that's when they start doing that within the bloodline, and then that's when The Rock comes back in at WrestleMania.
Yep, I agree with you. So that's that. Oh, wait a minute. We forgot somebody. We forgot
my favorite and your favorite.
Oh, look, I because I knew we were talking about him, I actually have my favorite. There he is. Look at Seth Rollins in that outfit. Tell me
So,
that's not
okay,
sports
this whole
entertainment, dude.
fucking ordeal, and
Here
look
you
at
go. There's another
Phil
shot.
looks good. McIntyre looks good. What the fuck is that?
That's Seth being the special referee because
Yeah,
they
he's
don't.
special. He's special. He's on that he's on that referee shirt spectrum happening right there.
He
That's what's
borrowed his wife's
happening.
clothes. That's what happened.
Well, don't knock the clothes, because King Troy, he's like the man. He dresses them, and I mean, he's a good dude, man. But I'm sorry, Troy, if you dress this dude, he looks like a fucking Barnum and Bailey motherfucking circus act. I can't help it.
I love him. I love him so much. And it's irrational because I'm a wrestling fan, like a
Yeah.
pro wrestling fan.
Do you think he dressed like that just to fuck with people and he didn't give a fuck?
Oh, this is a total fuck you situation.
Okay. You can spin it that way, or else you can spin it this way. Maybe he really thought he looked good and it wasn't a fuck you act. Maybe he is coming out looking like that because he is that flamboyant. You know what I mean? He don't, that's just, I look good. This is my outfit. I have a designer and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I didn't think it did him justice.
Well, what I love most about this picture, this isn't the right one, but there was one that was a little blurry, so I didn't pick it. Drew McIntyre's about to lose his shit looking at Seth Rollins because he can't even take him seriously.
I know, you can't.
Like,
I would break character when him out there. I would be like, dude, I can't even look at you.
Here's the problem. They're going to wrestle, as we saw on the SummerSlam graphic.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to wrestle, and CM Punk versus McIntyre, no title on the line, because CM Punk has cost McIntyre the title. Then he cost him the cash in. This is after McIntyre injured him at Royal Rumble with the DDT.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Seth Rollins is factored in because of his reaction to Punk coming back at Survivor Series in 2023 at the end of that match in Chicago at the War Games.
Mm-hmm.
So he's the special referee inserted in here, and there is all the noise on the boards and stuff. They don't think CM Punk can carry the match, can do the job because he keeps getting hurt. Medusa.
Between him and McIntyre?
Yeah. Do you book the match if you believe that?
Well, I mean, if you believe that. If I believe that they couldn't do the match, why would I even be booking it?
Thank you.
Why did I even create it?
What I'm saying is, does Paul Levesque, Shawn Michaels, Bruce Pritchard, whoever else in creative, Michael Hayes, all of them, do you put CM Punk in the ring if you think he can't deliver?
I think they still deliver as with CM Punk, but maybe they're going to do it in a different way where he doesn't have to do a full match or do something. There's going to be a fuck in there until maybe he can build up his, resistance back. I don't know. Build his stamina back. I don't know. You said out of whatever, he's been hurt half the time.
Yeah. He's been hurt, major injuries 3 times out of 16 matches he's wrestled in the last couple years.
That's serious. That is serious, and it's unfortunate. I love Phil, and he's a funny guy. He's funny. He loves his wife, and he's a humble dude. He really is in person. And I just, when he was at the CAC receiving his award, my husband sat there and watched him. He said, "Damn, Deborah, that's what a humble dude." And he spoke very eloquently. He spoke very well. And I was like, "Yeah, really? Well, you're maybe one of a few that think that, along with me. I think he's a great guy." But yeah, I don't know. If I'm a booker and a writer and there's things happening and you're seeing things happen, I would definitely book it in a way to where it's not a full-blown situation so they look like shit and something could happen and he's not healed all the way. Then that's on them, right? But of course, knowing Phil and them, they'd want to go in full force. I'm ready. I can do this, but it could fuck up. So I don't know. Maybe this is something to tell. So hopefully they make it through this match. If it's a full match, and if he does, then he could be okay.
So based on what you know, WWE has been building this story essentially since January because they've had to. This is as a need thing. It's not even they're being so patient.
I think
thing.
it's great. I think what they've been doing between these two are fucking fantastic.
I was going to ask you, I mean, I should have saved the picture, but they posted Jack Perry with Drew McIntyre last week on social media, and it blew the hell up, and I should have had the picture. That's my fault, guys. I apologize. But you talk about just digging deep. These guys have done a really nice job building this story.
Yes, and they need to continue and keep building it. This is what I like, and what I really like about the new WWE is that they're really taking the time and they are actually building these stories 3-6 month storylines. And when they are building it, it's like each segment is actually a step up with continuation and building something more to the future if it's other people. And it's active. And it gets you thinking and guessing. It gets you guessing. It makes you feel good again about wrestling. And I really loved what they've done with these two. Great storyline. Now, a lot of it could have just fell in place and those two, just off the cuff, and they add things, and it just, that's the beauty of old time wrestling and promos and just ad-libbing, and that's the shit that really cuts, So I don't know. I just, I remember asking Phil when he would cut his promo on him, and I'm like, dude, that was fucking great. How did you do? He goes, well, I just, you go out there, you think you know what you're going to say, and you start talking and just shit starts coming out. It was good.
That's pretty good.
It is. He was very humbled, man. I'm telling you, he was. He's been humbled by a few already.
Yeah, I was going to say he's had quite the career. Give me just a second. Most people, and this is the main event, ladies and gentlemen. This is CM Punk. There are people watching this show specifically because they're my friends with the intent that they think that I'm just going to go off the rails on CM Punk. And, I might, because I would hate to disappoint your audience, Medusa. This is my position on CM Punk. Okay. And this is where we'll start our discussion.
Okay.
I never turned professional wrestling on because of Phil Brooks.
What? Back in the day?
With the exception of two things. The Summer of Punk.
Please.
And his AEW. This is the only reason I ever watched him. And there he is. This is the most famous thing he did in his early run in WWE. As everybody knows it now. It's the pipe bomb.
Yes.
So the pipe bomb being, quote, revolutionary because he really blurred the lines between what was kayfabe, what was not okay to say, what was reality. He's shooting on Vince McMahon, Johnny Laurinaitis, and all of the rest.
And fast forward, look where we're at today. Maybe some of what he was saying is true. They're not there.
Not only is it true, but what I was going to ask you, Medusa, was when he dropped the pipe bomb, was it time to pull the curtain back on professional wrestling officially and do it on television?
Again, remember you said something, we were talking about other people. What about promos? And is it personal? And there's your answer. Sometimes it is. So a whole big circle back to promos and personal, should we bring personal stuff into our promos? Sometimes you do. And there's your answer. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Well, and like you say, he had a very successful run. He's arguably one of the more controversial figures in professional wrestling. And I don't know that it's even arguable. I think that his track record, what he did in WWE, AEW, even Ring of Honor when he left and he signed with WWE and they knew he was leaving. The Ring of Honor fans knew, and this was good Ring of Honor. This wasn't Tony Khan owned Ring of Honor. Sorry, Tony. But this is the Ring of Honor that produced Tyler Black, who's now Seth Rollins, that had CM Punk, that had Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn and all of the rest of them that have come out of ROH, from the Young Bucks to Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega, you mentioned earlier, wrestled in Ring of Honor. So the Ring of Honor promotion Kerry Silken ran, much, much different than the Ring of Honor promotion Tony Khan runs.
Yeah.
But they knew he was leaving. He goes to WWE. He ends up on Team DX at Survivor Series in 2006. He wins his first title. It's almost an afterthought. He wins his second title. But then, as so many people have done, Medusa, he teams up with our man. There he is. Oh my. There's
my
Paul.
Man. That's my man. That's my man.
But you professed your love for him last week or 2 weeks ago when you had a chalice.
And I'll never stop.
I won't either. And everybody knows how I feel if you caught the show. But they pair him with Heyman. And this is a guy that can talk. CM Punk can talk, but they paired him with Heyman anyway. What do you think was the logic of giving Heyman CM Punk at the time?
I think control and neutralizing, bringing him back, and plus the whole ECW thing, maybe the history, maybe the whole, and just that, just that wow factor. God, what can this be? And you got two silver-tongued people that can speak like mofos, and that's a loaded package. So, I think all of that.
Yeah, and CM Punk, he's great on the mic. Heyman's presentation with him was good. They would do the high five, the belt raises, the whole deal, the facials, the gestures. And then, of course, Lesnar comes back and you see them break up. But this is one of the more iconic shots of CM Punk's early run out of Chicago, Money in the Bank, 2011. He beats John Cena for the world title. And he blows Vince McMahon. That's Vince right there. Blows Vince McMahon a kiss because his contract has expired. So again,
and he just became champion.
Yep, and we're introducing elements of realism. So, what do you think of that creative? Did you like that? Do you not like that? What say you?
Well, again, was it planned on purpose that they were giving him the title and then his contract expires? In 2011, I can't believe the things like that slipped through Vince's hands when you had a situation where I wasn't under title. I wasn't under contract and I still had the title. So they get so caught up with what's going on, they forget what's right in front of them. So that was huge leverage for Phil. And, kudos to him.
Yeah, it was all part of the plan. And the other thing was they worked the dirt sheets into a frenzy.
Yeah.
So Twitter wasn't as big back, obviously, 13 years ago.
No, it was all about dirt sheets.
But the dirt sheets was big. Facebook was still there. And you had Twitter. But what I'm getting at is now if you want to watch professional wrestling in 2-minute clips, you just go to Twitter and you just follow certain promotions.
I get caught up on Twitter and what's going on with wrestling. I'm like, oh, okay,
boom, boom,
I understand now.
Easy. So it wasn't that same way. So they kind of put everybody into a feeding frenzy. And it was and then they had Alberto Del Rio. And I'm like, what the hell are y'all doing? So one of CM Punk's, and maybe you can speak to this, one of CM Punk's biggest complaints is he never main evented WrestleMania. However, he did wrestle The Undertaker. And they did an angle with the Paul Bear death. And it was highly entertaining and personal and controversial. And I want you to state in a loud, clear voice for everybody to hear, Medusa. Is wrestling Mark Calloway, The Undertaker, at the time undefeated, a main event, whether it goes on first or last or not, when WrestleMania is the stage?
If you are the headliner, of WrestleMania, you're one of the top big names. Like, let's say he's the Hulk Hogan of his day. You know what I'm saying? Back then. And so usually he would come out as main event, right? Unless something happened and he had to do semi-main event. But isn't that your question? I mean, why isn't he main event?
So the question is, he has said that he never main evented WrestleMania. My question is, isn't wrestling The Undertaker at WrestleMania the main event?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, yeah, he is main event, but I understand what you're saying that he's never been main event.
Right.
So but Undertaker is main event. He should be a main event Carter. But if he was he semi main event in that match at WrestleMania?
Third or fourth from the top, probably
Yeah.
third.
Okay. So to me, that's a big honor. I mean, I would be pleased with that. But because he felt like he was good enough and he should have had a spot, as main event. I mean, sometimes I get that. I understand that. I mean, women felt like that forever up until a few years ago. So until it actually happens, then it happens. But I don't know. I don't, for him to wrestle a main event person, but not main event, it just wasn't good enough for him. I understand when you have high expectations of yourself.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at is I think when Phil Brooks, the man, CM Punk, was talking about main event, he's talking about closing the show. And he
Yeah,
never closed the show at a
right,
WrestleMania. That match didn't
right.
close the show. But I will say this for Phil Brooks, because I can be complimentary of CM Punk.
Oh boy.
He had the Undertaker's last best WrestleMania match.
You think?
Yep. Yeah,
What
Brock
year?
versus Taker at 30 wasn't good. This
Yeah.
was 28, 27, 20. It was before 30. Sorry, guys, don't remember. I think it was 2013. But this match, the Brock one when Taker got concussed wasn't great. The Bray
Yeah.
Wyatt one the year after this wasn't great. So it was 28. I think it had to be 28. But anyway, CM Punk actually put The Undertaker in jeopardy. You believed that The Undertaker might lose that match, and he didn't. But that was one of Punk's
With the
complaints.
contrast too, that to me tells you that he can do the job. What you're saying right now is you're swallowing your own words, that for that to be one of Taker's best matches is because of his opponent. You know what I'm saying? So maybe that would have been great, depending on what the other two matches were for main event, that maybe he felt that should have been main event. Maybe it should have.
Yeah, Phil Brooks 13 years ago could go with anybody in the world. There is no doubting that.
Yes. Yeah.
The Phil Brooks today, don't think so. But that's a different conversation. I will say this, as
Yes.
much as everybody likes, and this was really controversial, as much as everybody likes the pipe bomb promo when The Rock came back, he's going to end CM Punk's 434-day run as champion. And they do it at like a Royal Rumble. Yeah, they do it at a Royal Rumble. Leading up to the Royal Rumble, you have The Rock versus Punk in a multitude of promos. Medusa, how does this miss? And I don't think it did, but in your opinion, if you're the agent, if you're the booker, what are you looking for out of Rock and Punk to get this match over and to get the fans ready for the Royal Rumble in 2014?
Jesus. I don't know. How do you answer that? I You got two guys that can cut hell of a promo, right?
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Well, and that's okay. You don't have to have an answer. The closeout line for CM Punk though was, you're out in Hollywood and you say your rhymes, and I'm here in the big league swinging for the fences. And quite frankly, Rock, your arms are just too short to box with God. And at that point in WWE, CM Punk was God in that he was the standard. He was the champion. And that kill
But why
shot,
didn't they give him? Why didn't they give it to him then?
because they wanted Rock Cena too.
Mhm.
That's what we
Well,
went
isn't
to.
that
Was Rock
crazy?
Cena. Yep.
Isn't that crazy how they just skipped over Phil and gave them that?
Yep, Rock Cena
right?
is what they got. Yep, and that was part of his argument because he, when he left the company, he's suspended for a couple months. He leaves the company. His argument, he leaves the company. They fire him on his wedding day. Triple H is being accused of the man who told him you're fired on his wedding day in June of 2014, I believe it was, or July. But he's fired. His argument was, I sold as many tickets as Cena. I sold as much merchandise as Cena. I was as big as Cena. Did John Cena need CM Punk during this era, Medusa, to be as successful as John Cena became?
Yes. Yes.
Short answer.
Yes.
Just yes.
Yes.
Got it. So he needed that natural antagonist to play off of him? Or
damn straight, everything.
Or is this a Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Kenny Omega, Okada?
Those two could have milked it like a motherfucker.
What I'm saying is this a Rock Austin? Is this a natural competition between the two just to see who the best guy really was?
Yes.
And maybe it wasn't personal; it was just business.
Oh no, it's personal.
Yeah, it became personal.
Oh no, there's some personal in there.
Well, whenever you start talking about someone's money, it certainly does become personal. I don't care what anyone says; it becomes personal.
What the fuck was that?
So Punk has a multitude of injuries, a staph infection, MRSA, gross. And that
when did that happen?
2014.
Oh yeah.
And he's diagnosed with like a fatty cell, is what I read it was, but it turned out it was MRSA. So they completely missed the boat there. He goes home, he's suspended, he gets fired because he no-shows, he doesn't agree with the creative. They suspend him, so he's fired. He's fired on his wedding day. That's when he gets termination papers, at least according to him. And all this comes out of Colt Cabana's podcast, which is interestingly now, they don't, wish each other were alive or whatever. They hate each other. But anyway, the investors on the WWE call were told that Punk was on a sabbatical, not that he was suspended or fired. So what does that say about Vince and company with what they thought about Phil Brooks enough to lie to investors on a phone call?
I don't know. That's pretty creepy. That's sad. But I've heard some things, not just about Phil's situation, but about situations where they create things or create problems or create situations to get to the next step or to push out a talent to bring in a talent. Let me tell you, a lot of that is inside operation, behind the scenes. Either you're liked, and if you're not, it's going to be a hard ride. And one day you're hot, one day you're not. And it could be as simple as so many factors just of being in the clique. You know what I'm saying? And no pun intended with that.
Mm-hmm. But you're right, being politically juiced, having enough political juice to be able to have the right ear and the right tone of voice at the right time.
That's a thing. I just, to this day, I feel so good, even a woman in this business, that I can just go to bed with my integrity intact and knowing I didn't have to suck any dick to get to where I'm at. But a figure of speech, but yet, okay, that too. Yes.
Yeah, pretty true too. Yeah. So CM Punk, hell of a run, 8 years, main event, 434 days as champion, merchandise records, sellout after sellout. Did he deserve better?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if he didn't have that much of an attitude, but his attitude started because of the way things were and how he was being treated, he had every right. And maybe he was conversing with the right people, but all of a sudden you see a Cena situation coming in, you had a Rock situation, and all of a sudden you start seeing competition. Maybe he started feeling a little scared himself. Maybe he started saying or doing or distancing himself. You know how you can get like that too. But when you start, feeling competition, but it's hard to say. I wasn't there. I don't know. I've never spoke to Phil about it, but I know if I did, he would definitely fucking tell me. Yeah.
Right. And that's
he doesn't hold anything back.
Well, and that's the relationship the two of you guys have. It's,
no happy Fox Rocks. Didn't date one person in this business.
There you go.
Read my book. It's all in there.
Read your book. So Phil Brooks leaves professional wrestling effectively for about 7 years, and he makes his incredible return to professional wrestling in
Come here, buddy. Come here, boy. Come
she
on.
needs to quit. Do not
Come
call
on over
her.
here.
She's going to
Come
try to
here,
chew a
little
cord
girl.
up.
Can she hear me?
She's looking at the other dogs right now. Like I said, this is the running of the pit bulls we do every night. Thank you all for entertaining
maybe she
us.
could hear me.
She probably can hear you, but she is the alpha, and she is a bitch, and she comes by it naturally. So just my dog, just so you're aware.
Okay.
But level 5. That is a level 5.
Oh, okay.
Not nice to talk about dogs like that, folks. But
bitch.
wrapping up on CM Punk, he's in Chicago. It's August the 20th, 2021. Everybody knew he was coming to AEW. I mean, it was all but this is the beauty of social media. Tony Khan went and purchased the rights to use Cult of Personality from In Living Color, and it got tweeted and retweeted almost 1 million times because people realized what was happening when he bought the rights to the song everybody knows that CM Punk comes out to.
Oh my God.
So
that was a dead giveaway. Yeah.
It was a dead giveaway. They opened the Friday night show with him. CM Punk's factored in big. First match is Darby Allin, who, again, we talked about earlier, a pillar of the show.
What was his contract? What did he get when he first came in?
It was, I believe he was on 3 years, and I don't know the dollar figure, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not sure that actually ever came out, and if it did, I'll find it and I'll send it to you, and we can tweet it out or whatever. Has a world title match with Hangman Adam Page, Double or Nothing, 2022. Wins the title. Now, this is where things started to get murky for him. In 2021, he announces he's here to help younger talent. He's here to make them better and that sort of stuff. And then he runs into the world champion, Hangman Adam Page. And after the fact, the two of them have said that things that got said in the ring were not agreed upon, were not okayed, were not cleared, and that it turned into a shoot style thing. Medusa, we love the blurring the lines because that's the best thing. But how do you avoid doing that in a world championship situation?
So it's happened to me several times, and not several, just a few. And when something like this happens, it's best not to get caught up into it, but to be the better person, even though you're in front of a crowd or live, and still be your character, but try to be in control of the situation because it will filter out quick. And the other person is the chaotic one that don't know what they're doing. And pretty soon they're going to realize they look like an idiot, right? And you're just standing there. So, and even if it goes into a shoot like one of mine has as well, you let that person, but you have a control in a situation where that person is trying to shoot and you have complete control. And hopefully at the end of the day, the person realizes what happened, that they were in the wrong. Maybe there's an apology, or sometimes egos get involved and it'll never happen. And there's that buildup of just resentment and hate, which is unfortunate. And so then again, it can escalate. Then it gets really ugly, that there's so much built up that one feels that one knows everything and they don't have to take that step forward and be the better person and apologize, let's say. And then sometimes you have veterans that know everything and they expect, other talent younger talent to obey. And, it's unfortunate, but it does happen. And I think that the best thing that I did is that I controlled the situation. I didn't succumb to that level of just not being professional. That is just never my vibe. But I learned from that and the character of the person, and I know what that I'm gonna get in the future if I ever work with them again, and I avoid that person in any work possible. It just I would not give them the satisfactory to ever be able to work with me again.
So what do
No.
you do when he's one of the pillars of your company?
When he is a pillar of that company and he has that, force, or he has that meat behind him, he has maybe the, ownership, or, maybe top management behind him, and you're up against that, and whatever you say or do is gonna be looked at wrong. I definitely would hope that management or ownership would listen to both sides and not, have their tail between their leg and let the monkeys control the situation. And that's what has happened a lot with the AEW, that Tony is, I do have to say this, you can say what you want, but Tony is just a very, he knows the wrestling. He's watched wrestling for a long time, whatever. He knows the business, but he he also is a nice guy. He's very approachable. He'll talk to you. He'll smile, he'll laugh, he'll have a good time. But I think at the beginning when all of this was established, that I think the guys positioned themselves very well. And they had, the nut sacks right here, basically, and they controlled everything. And that's what got out of hand, I think. And then so whenever there was start to new talent to start to come in, I mean, veteran or young or old or new, whatever, it didn't matter how young these people were in the business or how long. They were there first. They were, the pets of the business, and they could do no wrong, basically. But I think in this situation, Tony may have stepped up and had to set a precedence. And I think they let him go for a while and chill out, and, and then Punk left or got fired. I don't know. But I kinda saw some of the video and, again, I wasn't there, I can't say. I only see the first strike, and so it just questions. I would never throw the first strike when there's heat like that and you've got something going on. What does that do? What does that prove? What does that show? If you're there to educate the younger talent, that is not a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So this is what happens. He wins the world title from Hangman. The next
Mhm.
next week or the week after the pay-per-view, he jumps into the crowd and breaks his foot. So he's going to be not forced to relinquish the title, but he goes and they do this creative with Moxley, of course. They call on John Moxley, somebody CM Punk's very familiar with, and we didn't talk about it today, but maybe we'll go back to it at some other point. The Shield comes in to help CM Punk originally in WWE. So
Mhm.
Moxley and Rollins and, of course, Roman, all very familiar with CM Punk.
Yes.
Um, anyway,
I thought that was a good choice, though, to start a little thing there.
oh, very, yeah,
Yes.
very
Yes.
smart. And then it got the Shield over as much as
Mhm.
it got CM Punk over.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
the way it's supposed to work, you
Yes.
know.
Right.
But the title, obviously, they have Mox as the interim champ, and then they do this weird creative where Moxley actually squashes Punk in the match before All Out in 2022. And then Moxley will lose the All Out match to Punk. John Moxley, for all he is or he isn't, is definitely an AEW company guy to the point where he's lost less than 10 matches in the entire time he's been there. He's been there since May of 2019. So
Mm.
when he does the job for somebody, as they call it, when he takes the L, it matters. So he takes this loss to CM Punk at All Out. Obviously, Tony has plans for him
Mhm.
because John Moxley is fairly well protected in his character, his presentation, and his ability. So, Medusa, am I off base there? Or do you think before everything that happened after the pay-per-view, Tony Khan had plans for CM Punk, larger
Yeah.
than what we saw?
Absolutely. I think so. I mean, bringing in the guy and having all of that and having good, words to say like Mox and knowing that what they could get out of him, absolutely. Absolutely. And it just sucked that that happened. I think there was so much control and strings pulling that Tony was caught. You know what I'm saying? It was just it's unbelievable. It's just sad. It's just sad that the talent had that much control over the situation.
Well, and that's where we're going next, because obviously Brawl Out, as it has become infamously known, and I threatened to do it, and I'm a man of my word.
What?
There's the cupcakes. Oh, Phil, damn
Brother.
it. Eating the
If they're,
cupcakes.
hopefully they're carrot cupcakes because then
Well,
that's good.
the thing is he was also defending Larry, his dog, and I'm all about that. I would kill for my dogs. As much as she's a level 5 bitch, I would kill for my dogs. But he says, I'm tired, I'm hurt, and I work with children. And then the Elite confront him, the Elite being the Jackson brothers and Kenny Omega, and there's a brawl backstage. And a couple things about this, because you
And
just
then
told
let's
me
end it here. Yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Because a couple things about this. You just said Tony Khan knows professional wrestling.
Well, when he spoke to me, when I sat down and talked to him, I mean, he just ran through my whole career. He knew everything of me in WCW. That's a shoot.
Yeah.
The guy just riddled it off.
Okay.
So, I mean, I was like, wow. There's some of the things like, how in the hell do you remember that? 'Cause I used to watch it all the time.
Yeah. So he's a fan. We get that.
Okay.
My question is, when you have your world champion belittling the rest of the talent during a media scrum that you have control over, why would you allow it to continue?
You wouldn't. You wouldn't. And I don't know why. Maybe Tony thought it was great. Maybe he thought it was part of the show. Maybe he didn't realize how heated it was. Maybe, I don't know. Sometimes, see, that's the difference between, I feel, knowing both men or met them, is the difference between Vince and Tony. When Vince walks into a room, everybody's buttholes would fucking pucker. Like, Tony walks in the room, they're like, yo, what's up? You know what I mean? It's a big contrast and it's a big difference.
Okay.
And authoritative and authority, and however you want to say and whatever you want to talk about Vince, WWE wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for him. But you knew, no, this is his company. This is my business. I make the decisions, the big ones. If you don't like it, whatever, talk to your producer and whatever. And I mean, and Tony has so many ears and people telling him what to do and what's good and what's bad. The guy needs to isolate himself and repackage himself and not let himself be so available. Let him do his job and let other people do their jobs and run the show. And he can have the final say.
Forget the fact it's Nick Jackson and Kenny Omega as the executive vice presidents of this company, along with Cody Rhodes at one point. How, well, I don't know what I'm trying to ask other than, is it very smart to have working wrestlers as your executives inside the company?
I don't know. It's like asking Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson, and Brotherly Love and Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, and the list goes on, right? They all had a part of the business in some way, in some capacity, but as far as the board, never. It's always been the family. That's it. I think the closest they ever got is him marrying Steph, and that's where Tripp is now. Otherwise, it would never be that way. Mm-mm.
Well, yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at, because like the Bucks and Kenny are active wrestlers on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a lot of juice and politics, and they obviously helped start the company. Pat Patterson was a retired wrestler, as was,
Mm-hmm.
Briscoe and Slaughter. But to your point, Triple H is probably as close as they've ever had, in that he was an active wrestler and he was married to the boss's daughter and the father of his grandchildren and her children. And yeah, because Triple H was an active wrestler all the way up till whatever, 2017, 18, 19, whatever it's been. And so, and he had an executive position with the company. So you're right, but they made it work. And maybe part of that was, to your point, Vince. I mean, really, just Vince.
Vince.
If he's the
he
final
makes the decision. Yeah. And that's what Tony has a good thing there. And I would love to see it be successful. I would, because there's a lot of great players there. But when you have a lot of monkeys running the circus, it's never going to be that. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be distress. It's going to be uncomfortable. And it's just, you know what I mean? I really want it to do well. And I wish Tony would just isolate himself from that. But as long as those other boys are on the board or vice presidents and stuff, unless you have X amount of boards that can vote them off and out, then you're kind of in a bad deal. Maybe they have ownership too. You know what I mean? Shares and whatnot. So what a great position they're in.
In a very good position. So Punk wins the title, hurts himself, ends the MJF feud, which I think was probably the biggest money feud, and we won't spend any time on that because we've been here a while. He comes back from injury. Triceps was torn in this match, by the way, against Moxley. So this is one of those 3 injuries we were talking about. And he begins this creative in June of 23 that he's the real world champion. Puts an X across the belt, assuming that he's the real world champion. They make it to Wembley. He has a match with Samoa Joe. Before the match with Samoa Joe, he and Jack Perry have words. They're broken up. And everybody on Twitter and AEW that watches saw the security footage that basically went exactly the way CM Punk said the altercation went. He's fired from the company. Tony actually fires him on television, says he feared for his life, all of this sort of stuff. Was the CM Punk experiment in AEW Medusa just snake bitten from the beginning? Or obviously I think CM Punk has some responsibility in this, but they had opportunities and they missed the boat, I think. I don't know what you think.
Absolutely. And I think it all could have been handled different. Now, it all could have been handled different stemming from the top. That's lack of management. It would have never escalated the way it did if it didn't. And it got to the point because we have friends of friends on the board or part ownership or whatever they are. And that's a big problem because there's a lot of favoritisms. And it's hard not to, but there is. And people see it, feel it. So when you have a disagreement with somebody that's on the board or vice president, they're best friends with Tony, there's no getting past that. And so was he partial wrong? Yes. I mean, maybe, Phil could have just took the higher road and said, fuck this. I'm out. I'm going to go walk out here for a while and not even bother with it and take a breath. Or can we sit down? Or, whatever the thing is. I don't know. It's just unfortunate, but look where he's at now. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Things happen for a reason. AEW is still in the same mixing bowl.
Yeah, and as I told you when we started this conversation, I watched CM Punk deliberately for 2 reasons. The Summer of Punk, that run was fantastic, and the Paul Heyman stuff, and AEW. So they got out of me what they intended to with CM Punk, that people turn the television on to watch him. And I mean, that's where I'm at on it, Medusa. CM Punk was never the reason I turned on professional wrestling, with those two or three exceptions. But if he was on wrestling, it wasn't like it was bad. And when CM Punk wrestled, wrestling was better. But what we've seen the last couple of years has done him a disservice. And to your point, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, because he's in WWE, apparently having a good time, making money, and I'd imagine making more money.
He seems very happy. He seems so happy and content. And it's unfortunate things are happening, But if he could just get this step in this next match or whatever he's going to do, he needs this. He needs this to come out break free.
Yeah.
You know what
Well,
I'm saying?
yeah, he's got to come out injury free. You're 100% correct, because unfortunately he's had a broken foot. He had the torn triceps. He's had this issue now with the collarbone or whatever from the DDT. And you know, that's a wrap for him, and that's a wrap for us, with the exception of one thing, because we forgot. Well, I forgot. This is from our man, 3 Diglets. It is a super chat, which we much appreciate because it does help us on the show. So does Roman come back at SummerSlam? I say leave him off TV till War Games. He comes at War Games, fans go nuts. So just for a point of reference, Medusa, schedule-wise, War Games will be Survivor Series. So you're talking November instead of bringing him back this weekend, August the 3rd.
August, September, October. Well, then they'd have to milk something out, like as you and I were talking about with Solo and Cody, and maybe is Paul back in the swing? Is he coming back?
Not yet, but I fully expect at the end of that main event we hear ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, so maybe I think, because who put him through the table? Solo? No.
It was the Gorillas of Destiny and Jacob Fatu under Solo's direction.
Correct. So I think instead of maybe having Roman come back right then and there, maybe it is Paul that shows up and distracts or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know we will talk wrestling no matter how much you claim to hate it. You know you love this with me because you get to go down memory lane and talk about all these cool people you met, though. We talked tonight. Look, we talked about Dusty. We talked about the Steiners.
Arn Anderson, one of my favorites. I love to throw shoes at. Yeah.
I mean, and we talked about Paul again and CM Punk. So we're checking all your boxes.
Yeah, where's that picture of Punk, Paul, and I?
Oh, yeah. You mean
here's one of my favorite photos, guys.
That one right there.
There's Paul, me, and Phil. It was a great night. It was at Paul Heyman's daughter's bat mitzvah. He only invited 2 people, and that was Phil and myself. I'll always cherish that.
As you should. What a distinct honor. Seriously.
Right?
No, I mean, of all the people, and I'm not dismissing yours or CM Punk's, how many people you think Paul Heyman knows? Thousands? And you guys were the only 2.
It was cool as shit. Yep. And boy, if she ever gets married, woo! It'll be a good one.
It'll be a great wedding.
Paul will be bawling his eyes out. And
well, that's his baby girl, isn't it? So there you are.
Yes. And all right, guys.
Here we are, guys. That is
I gotta pee. I gotta tap a kidney, y'all.
We've gone an hour longer than intended. We appreciate you all
because you're long-winded
so much. I had a 2-page format. I don't know what this woman's talking about. But anyway, until next time, and it will be sometime in August, we will see you all later.